You need a great opener, like somehow we're adults. Do.
We can record that right
some
now.
Some kind of like.
We can record that right now.
Everybody be quiet.
Somehow we're adults.
Your headphones okay? Volume's okay?
Yeah, man. Volume's perfect. This reminds me, one of the times I was doing a flight with our helicopter crew out of the children's hospital. We had to put on the headphones. They had the mics. And they're like, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. You've got to put the mic, like, let it touch your lips. And I'm like, how many dozens of people have had this mic on their mouth and it would not pick up any voice unless it was, like, really touching your mouth. I just thought it was kind of creepy, but I didn't get any weird mouth fungus from it, so.
Hey, I mean, we do a lot nastier things, you know what I mean? Like, how many times have you been hunting and, like, you eat a sandwich and your hand's just covered in dirt?
Oh, yeah.
Or blood.
Like dove hunting.
Yeah.
Prime example of like picking up all this bloody, nasty doves and then, what do I have? Oh, bologna.
There was one time me and my buddy went hunting and we were totally unprepared. We went pig hunting and I don't think either of us really considered that we'd actually kill something, and we did. And we forgot gloves, we forgot soap, we didn't even bring like bottled water. Like we were like we forgot gloves. Like it was bad.
I'm shuddering. So you actually killed a pig?
Yeah.
And you just barehanded that thing?
Yep.
Basically the nastiest animal on earth.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah, you're lucky you didn't die.
Dude, we used flowing pond, or there was like a creek, like a ditch, and we used that water in a bucket, and we dumped water on the pig to clean it off. And this is like you look at the water, we're like, well, it's flowing, right? Like, all the survival shows we said flowing is good.
Yeah. Still giardia, but it's okay. But I mean, if you're bathing the pig, you're getting a lot of it off.
Ignorance is bliss, right?
Oh man, what is that disease called that you get from pigs?
Ignorance?
No. It's close.
Trichinosis?
Yeah, man, that is a bad.
As far as I know, it's not as big of a deal as it once was. Apparently, it's not. We just go by the thing that's like, listen, when you eat wild hog, if you get sick, if you're unable to talk, make sure that your spouse knows to tell the doctor he recently went pig hunting and ate a wild pig.
Oh yeah. Now I haven't had any problem with that. I always pig is one I cook. Pig is one I like really cook.
Oh yeah.
So I don't do any medium rare or anything with that, but yeah.
Yeah, we do the tenderloins. Sometimes will be not 165, maybe like 155, 145 for temperature. But I recently made some wild hog chili where I just like ground up the wild pork and made chili. It was really good. But I cooked that for 6 hours plus.
For years, we had this great place where we would trap hogs, and we get all the the wild hogs trapped, and I take the girls out and teach them how to shoot, and they just picking them off like fish in a barrel, just wearing them out, and I loved it. And processing fees weren't bad. It was like $40 a hog, and
to get them turned into what?
And I mostly ground.
That's nice.
Yeah, and so I mostly ground, and I did some sausage, things of that nature. But yeah, the processor stopped. Like, we're not doing any more wild hogs, period. And I just couldn't. I wasn't going to do it myself. That's just too much work.
Oh yeah.
$40 I'd pay, $100 I'd pay, but yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, because like one thing we've run into is I've never paid for a processor, and we have like my freezer's like slap full of like shoulder meat and hams. So like all this stuff that you either have to slow cook or grind.
Yeah.
And like I just got tired of slow cooking it, so we got a food processor, and I've been food processing the crap out of it and turning it in my own homemade ground meat, and that's how I made the chili out of it.
Oh,
but it was a good time.
Nice.
But you want to join, Robbie? Oh, no. You're just going to watch the podcast live? Okay. We have an audience. First time ever.
Hey.
Well, maybe not. I'm sure we've had other podcasts with this before.
What are they called? The live studio
audio?
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's eating gummy bears. But there was this is obviously for people who listen to the podcast normally. You'll see that this is not the normal podcast studio. I am in Georgia visiting John, who was the last time you were on the podcast was when I had first built the table in the room for the podcast, and we were still using, like, we didn't have actual microphones, we didn't have headphones, we didn't have video, we didn't have all the fun stuff, and now you got all the fun stuff.
Hey, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So we're in my mother-in-law's house, so that's why my house doesn't look this nice.
And then I don't know if this is the second time this dining room has ever been used. The first time was this morning, yesterday morning.
Definitely has never been used until this morning.
Shout out Aunt Rindy. But So what's new with you, man? I mean, you've always got plenty to talk about. We've talked
Oh,
all
man.
day, damn near.
Yes, all day, man. So there's really not too much new. I'm still doing the firefighter thing. Still battalion chief. I recently got switched to a new shift. We've had some leadership changes in my department, and so I'm learning a whole new crew. I started with them in January, and so far they're a great crew, solid crew. We're just all trying to learn each other because each I'm a battalion chief, and so I command differently than the previous battalion chief that they had. And so my leadership style is a little different. They're learning that, and so we're being good to each other as we learn each other. But so far it's been pretty good.
You're in the break-in period still.
Yeah, and I appreciate that I've got such a solid crew. Like when it comes down to physical fitness, mental sharpness, work ethic, things of that nature, they're great. So, but it's not the crew that I've had for the last 3 years. So,
Right.
Yeah. So, and they're good folks. We're just learning each other.
You're still loving the job though.
Oh yeah. There's nothing better.
Really?
Absolutely nothing better. So, when I became a fireman was great, but I wanted to be on the rig. I want to be in charge of a fire truck. So, I worked to become what we call an FAO, a fire apparatus operator, which your dad's.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad was one, and so I loved that job. Loved it. And then, of course, promotional processes come, and I don't really want to be a lieutenant. I like doing what I'm doing, but I really don't want to work for any of the candidates that signed up for the lieutenant's test. So I'm going to throw my name in the hat so I don't have to work for those guys. And
Who else but you at that point,
Yeah. So lieutenant was not great. Even being a captain was not great. But being a battalion chief, hands down the best. Like I've got an entire team I get to pour into.
Yeah.
And they're paid. They have to listen to me. So
You're a paid for dad, basically, but
Yes.
to grown men.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am, and that is the best way to describe how I have to lead. Is like literally being a dad. I'm gonna get on to you, but I'm also gonna praise you, and I'm gonna and I'm gonna encourage you and guide you and all that stuff. But yeah, that's I absolutely love it. Being able to pour into this crew is one of my favorite things in the world to do.
Yeah. Is it hard to separate emotions sometimes in that job? Because because from my experience and from when I just think about it, you're dealing with life and death and hostile stuff
Yeah.
all the time, and you have to separate yourself for it. For instance, my dad, when I think one of the worst calls he ever ran that he told us about, obviously there's ones he won't even mention to us,
Yeah.
but where there was this kid who had gotten mutilated by a pit bull, and this kid was unrecognizable. I don't even know if he lived, but I think he did. But that was at the same age. He was at the same age that my brother and I were close to, and it was just like that really hit him hard. Where it's this is nuts to see.
Yeah. So my girls know.
Microphone.
Yep. Sorry.
No, you're good. You keep
I'm
forgetting
terrible
about
with
it.
it.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good. I got
So
you.
my girls know that when I send them a text, it's like, hey, I love y'all. They know something's happened, and that's really it. It's like because a while back, and it's hard to even pull the emotions away from it. A while back, we got a call for a 13-year-old girl. She was a sick child. She was dang.
Just
hold mic.
point it. Just point it. Yeah.
I'm just gonna sit here with the mic right in my mouth.
Do it.
So, poor child. She was sick her whole life. Everything else. Mom had left her watching TV. She really hadn't. She was nonverbal the whole night. The whole shooting match. Just a real lifelong
Non-verbal 13-year-old.
Yeah, lifelong illness kind of kid.
Wow.
But got there and mom had left her there all day. She'd been there 10, 12 hours just sitting in front of the TV, completely unchecked, and it passed many hours earlier. And we get there and it's we're in a poor community where I work, and so the education level's low, things of that nature, and mom's just losing it with us, and I have to pull mom aside and look, I'm sorry, there is nothing we can do, and it just hurts, because you see the devastation on her because she realizes I failed today, and this is the one day that my daughter took her last breath and I wasn't there, and dealing with that and just thinking about how blessed my life has been. My kids were all healthy in the whole 9 yards, but and after that I shoot the girls a text I love y'all, and just had to have a hard conversation with the mama saying your daughter's dead and there's nothing that we can do, and she's begging, screaming, she's losing her mind. We're having to get police over there to help restrain, and just that kind of stuff day in, day out. It takes a toll on you.
And you're supposed to just
Yeah.
pick up and go on like it didn't just happen.
Yeah.
People talk about how, like, you know, they have one bad moment at work and it ruins, you know, they'll have a bad 10 seconds and it'll ruin their whole day.
Yeah.
And then you have a bad 3-4 hours at least.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, that's got to be, I mean, it lasts with you forever.
It does. And I was telling Robbie a little while ago, we're, talking about struggle sleeping and things of that nature. That's my issue. My normal, like, I pull up my sleep app and stuff, it'll show my average is like 5 hours and 26 minutes. And I said, yeah, that's actually pretty high in comparison. I usually have to, like, keep myself, like, worn out to exhaustion before I can finally sleep and have a peaceful night of sleep. So, but it does take a toll. But it's one of those things that the good side of what we do outweighs the bad, but the bad does, weigh heavy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's not a job I have any desire to do, just from all the stories of my dad and, obviously you as well. But it's a tough job, and most people don't think about it like that. When they think about firefighters, they think about like 9/11 then like, Dalmatians and riding a fire truck to a fire, and they don't realize that you guys don't do as many fires as people think they do. I mean, there's not a house burning down every day.
No.
It's mostly medical.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We in the fire service, we respond to thousands of different types of calls. Like if, people's water heaters rupture, guess who they call first? They call us. They don't call a plumber. They call 911. Somebody has electrical shorts in their house. They don't call an electrician. They call 911. Mm-hmm. And we're there to stabilize every possible type of incident. Of course, then all the accidents and the drug overdoses. And if there's anything wrong and they don't know how to deal with it, they call us. They don't call police. Police are pretty cut and dry on legal issues, but we're all in on almost everything, and so it takes a long time to learn how to do this job.
How hard is it to, like, keep your emotions in check in those high stress situations? Do you think about it in those moments, or do you feel like you're just flying out on instincts?
So like in the fire service, you're considered a rookie until you're 3 to 5 years, and people take that as an insult, and it's like, no, it's not an insult. It takes 3 to 5 years to understand how to manage all the incidents that are thrown at you. Mm-hmm. Every single call we go on is different than the last one, and so at the 3 to 5 year mark, you've basically developed enough maturity in decision making to be able to do it on your own and be trusted on your own. And so you're a rookie until you can be trusted, and it's not a bad thing. It just takes that long to learn how to do the job, and it takes thousands of responses, and so. Things are difficult. It's difficult, but it's also still one of the most rewarding jobs there is. When you can see that you've made a positive difference in somebody's life, or you've made a positive difference in the outcome of something that was going in the wrong direction. Mm-hmm. That's where the good comes in. We do have those good wins,
right? Because you get to feel like an actual hero.
Oh well,
to a lot of people, though.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
To you, it's just another day punching in, punching out.
Yeah.
But like, in those super stressful situations, like, people will hang on every word you tell them. Mm-hmm. Especially when you have to tell people that somebody's dead.
Yeah.
They're going to remember every little detail you say, how you gesture your eyes, everything. And and you probably know that going into it, and that's tough.
Yeah, and trying to be I've got to be compassionate, but I also have to be firm. Because they're immediately a demand. You've got to do something. You got to do something. It's like, look, no, we're not. I can't. I'm not gonna give you false hopes, and I'm not gonna waste those resources. Mm-hmm. Because when it comes down to it, it's a lot of resources on and the families. Like, maybe something will happen. No, they've been dead for hours. I can't help.
Yeah,
there's nothing.
Rigor mortis is setting in.
Yeah. It's worse for me to give you false hope, and you get to the hospital, and the hospital says, "Oh yeah, the same thing they told you on scene is still the same here. Now we've just caused you to drive 100 miles an hour from your house to the hospital to be told the same thing they tried to tell you at the scene." So
you start the grieving process as early as possible. Yeah, unfortunately,
and that's a tough spot to be in, but.
Now transitioning that into fatherhood, how difficult was it to unplug from that and then to raise 3 daughters?
All right, so
and to cushion things to them that you, because that's the thing that I've noticed is like firefighters are so black and white when it comes to telling people things, because you have to be. Like you just said, you can't give a glimmer of gray area to people or they'll hold on to that and drive 100 miles an hour to the hospital. But when you have daughters, you got to sugarcoat things sometimes. You got to soften the blow sometimes. And it's hard to find that middle ground.
I have a great wife, and I really do. I'm not going to lie. Melissa, Whenever the blunt side of me comes out, this like I'm just black and white. There's red shirt, green shirt. There's no gray in the middle. It's which one.
Yeah.
When I'm starting to come off and just be hard, Melissa's like, she'll put her hand on me, and then I'll realize, okay, step back. You're not. This isn't the fire station. These aren't your firefighters. You've speak to the and so then I will dial it back. But it takes a lot. It takes a lot to transition, and I don't do it well sometimes. I say I don't do it well. Sometimes I come home and I'm like, I just need a few minutes.
Yeah.
And I'll go to my shop and I'll work on guns or something like that, and just
shift that mind.
Yeah, I've got to because we've all got this TV that's playing constantly in our head, and a lot of times it's on repeat of all the worst stuff or all the stress that you went through.
Yep.
And you've got to have that downtime to change the channel. And once I get that channel changed, then I can go back to being a dad and switching it off.
That's so crazy. I mean, that's something that people don't consider a lot. When they hear PTSD, they really think of like Iraq people. You know what I mean? And they don't consider the trauma that happens at home, which you could almost argue could be worse because it's local too, and you can't. I mean, you're not taking an airplane away from the trauma. You know what I mean? The trauma is where you live. You know what I mean? Or locally.
Yeah. And when the girls are with me driving through the town that I work in, in my head I'm like, I worked a cardiac arrest on that, and I had a rape victim over here. I had such and such over there, and I had, had a shootout with police, and police officer was shot, and right here, and I had to hold his neck into place, and all this stuff, all the and it's just a nightmare of that kind of stuff.
Well, like on the last podcast, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember it because it was like very touching. Was when you talked about was it your former chief or no, it was your Boy Scout leader, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that you basically had to hold in your arms as he passed, and was hurt.
He had passed before I got there, and that was as soon as we pulled into the address. It's like, I know this house. Where do I know this house from? And Miss Bird came to the door, and she's like, "Oh, John, I was hoping it wouldn't be you." And I was just like, "Oh my God, where is he? Where is he?" And I went and found Mr. Bird laying in his bed, and he had his hands were clenched over his chest. And she's like, "I thought he was sleeping in this morning." And I went back to check on him and realized he wasn't breathing. He had died in the middle of the night, but he was hurting when he died. I could tell. And then I had to help her with the next steps of we had to get the coroner out there and all that. But it's just like, oh man, that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff is rough. But you were talking about the PTSD aspect of it, and that is something we are dealing with in a big way. We have a lot of line of duty deaths just because of the nature of our job and some of the dangers that come with it. But the biggest killer of firefighters is not line of duty deaths; it's suicide. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're trying to deal with, because counselors are not set up for people like us. Even trauma counselors, if somebody faced a horrible shootout that lasted 2 or 3 days in Iraq, Afghanistan, whatever else, a lot of those things can be dealt with. But when you've got firefighters and police officers and paramedics and stuff who are day in, day out living in a war zone and doing it for 15, 20, 30, 40 years, the trauma is so deep. Like most counselors, everyone I've ever been to, I'm not set up for somebody like you. I'm going to refer you out. I'm going to refer you to so-and-so. And finding an actual trauma counselor set up for first responders is difficult.
Yeah.
And thankfully, there are some available now, but 10 years ago, there was nothing.
And it's crazy, too, because, people take tours in, like, Iraq, Afghanistan, overseas, and they're not gone for, giant, 10, 15 years. They're gone for 1-2 years, maybe, kind of thing like that, from what I understand about it. Like, firefighters are 25 to 30 years. Mm-hmm. Of day in, day out. I mean, like 24 hours on, 30, or was it 24 on, 48 off? Yeah, that's the typical schedule. Yep. And so that's 24 hours. And a lot of times firefighters are showing up to a scene like they were just asleep 30 minutes ago. Mm-hmm. And they got woke up out of a dead sleep to go run this call. They're sleep deprived, and they're so focused because they don't have enough energy to focus on anything else. And it is I'm sure it's not a completely thankless job, but it feels like it sometimes. How many times have you had your life threatened?
Oh man, had my life threatened. I not necessarily had my life threatened. I've been in some bad situations, and I have been in plenty of fist fights where just a scene went bad with a drug addict or even diabetics are actually some of the worst on violence. They don't even know what's going on. They're out of their mind, and we're trying to be compassionate, but man, they don't know pain, and they are fighting, and sometimes we have to back off a little bit and get creative on how we're going to approach so we can give them the stuff they need to fix their current situation. And so I've had my butt whooped plenty of times, but yeah,
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I can't really fight the way I want to because the man side of me is like, I'm going to do this, and this, and this, but the paramedic side of me is like, this guy actually doesn't know what's going on. He's having a true medical event. I need to, and I have to.
He doesn't need a broken
it.
orbital.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to get punched in the face. He doesn't
right.
need. We don't need to have his jaw wired shut to get it back
But
together.
if this sorry joker would manage his insulin like he's supposed to, I wouldn't have this situation. So it is partly his fault. But,
I could just imagine you're walking down the aisle at the grocery store and you see him and you're just like, you get that PTSD kicks back in and be like, are you good?
I'm gonna shove a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in his face again. Eat this.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that story of the guy. Was it downstairs or something like that?
Oh, that guy whooped me. He
Can you
whooped
tell-
all of us.
Can you tell the story?
Oh, yeah, I can tell the story. So I'm in Rockdale County, which is the town I grew up in. Got a call into a nice residential area, $300,000-$400,000 homes kind of thing. And the dad's like, yeah, my son's downstairs. He's an insulin-dependent diabetic. His blood sugar's low. He's down on his bed. So myself and my partner, and she's a small little girl, and we go walking down the stairs, and I see this guy. He's a pretty big dude. I'd say 6'2", about 250 pounds, but he's muscular, and he's got a whole weight room set up in this whole basement. And there's only one way in, which is the staircase that I went in. And I get down to him like, hey buddy, I'm just trying to check his level of consciousness, what we're supposed to do. And he snatches his head up, and he looks at me crazy-eyed, and he's sweaty, got long hair. And he's like, mother effer. And I'm like, oh, no. And then he jumps up and he slams into the wall and he comes running right back into my face. He's like, I'm not going to say the words, GD. Yeah. And then he runs and he slams and he's, mother effer. And he's like, we're going back and forth. I'm like, oh, okay. So right now we haven't made contact. But the second we make contact, this is going to be on. And I've got an emergency button that I push. My partner, oh, gosh, I shouldn't have said her name out there.
I can bleep it.
Yeah, bleep that one out, please.
Okay.
So my partner bails up the stairs and leaves me, and this guy's between me and my only exit. I'm like, oh, I'm in big trouble. And I know he has no sense of pain, and he is a strong guy. I know I'm strong, but he doesn't feel pain. I do. So
You're completely stone cold sober in this moment.
I am like, oh, this is the worst. And so I mashed my little red button, which is our silent emergency button. And, dispatch is calling, and I'm not answering because I'm trying to deal with him. So they send the cavalry. And first crew that gets there is the firefighters in Rockdale County, and they were great. Guy comes down. Both the guys off the fire engine come down. One's Bubba. We call him Bubba.
Bubba.
And he is everything of a Bubba. And the other one is a guy, buddy of mine called David. I'm not gonna say last names, but they come down the stairs, and they're huge guys. Each one of them's over 300 pounds. Baker, what you got? I said, man, this guy's diabetic. He's raging. We're about to be in a fight. Oh, no, let's give him some instant glucose, which is this tube of glucose you got to squirt in their mouth. I'm like, dude, this is not going to go well. The second we touch, we're going to go to war. Oh, I get it. So David grabs him by the back of his hair and shoves the instant glucose in his mouth, and it is on. It is on. Now, granted, I'm 220 pounds at the time, and I'm as fit as I can be. Both of these boys are over 300 pounds apiece. This guy's slinging us around like rag dolls. Like, we're bleeding. Our shirts are torn. The whole nine yards. We're taking him down. And, of course, those two guys switch into fight mode. And I'm into like, no, don't kill him. And so one of them's got him in a headlock, and he's biting. He bit a chunk into his bip, and the other one is just punching him in the ribs. Just boom, boom. And I'm trying to draw up the medicine while we got him contained. And he's just standing up with 800 plus pounds of us on him. He just stands up like we're not there. We throw him back down to the ground. I'm trying to inject him in his arm with a shot called glucagon. And finally I get it in him, but we're bleeding. Like, all of us are torn, bleeding, needing medical attention ourselves. The guy's like, what are y'all doing? Get off me, man. Get off me. What's going on? Guy comes up, the nicest dude in the world. Has no memory of what happened. And I'm talking, we're dripping blood, all of us. And it's our blood, not his.
Yeah.
Like, he whooped us. He absolutely did. Then a few minutes later, a deputy comes down the stairs. Barney Fife looking deputy, 150 pounds soaking wet. Just, what can I help you with, guys? And we're all looking at him like, just leave. The fight's over at this point. But yeah, that's one of a few times I've gotten my butt whooped. But
Makes you think about doing jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, my fear is when I get that fighting mad, I get dangerously mad, and I am. Maybe if I could control it, maybe jiu-jitsu would be the way. But I have a hard time when I let rage take over, and I'm bad. So,
dude, it's. I mean, for me, being somebody who's also a male who gets mad, it has made it to where I am so like the confidence. Like, okay, for instance, you know how sometimes whenever you like when you have your sidearm on you at any time, you're automatically like. I'm covered. I'm good.
Yeah.
Like
I got 12 friends on my hip. So
right. Exactly.
I'm good to go. Yeah.
Exactly. If not more. And then but it's like that, but everywhere you take it with you. Like airports, I've got it. You know what I mean? That jiu-jitsu. I mean, am I the best jiu-jitsu person ever? No. But having any level of grappling experience puts you above a lot of people.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, it's given me this confidence that like it's not a false confidence either too. I understand that there's weapons and stuff involved, but it's like having an extra tool in your belt. You know what I mean? The aggression level too is like you're always confident in what you're doing because you're like, I do this 4 times a week. Like I'm good. Like you want to grab a hold of me? All right, cool. Like I'm gonna do what I've done 4 times this week, and you're not gonna. This is the first time you've done this since you wrestled with your cousins growing up, and you guys didn't know what you were doing then. It just I don't know. For me, it's been there's the camaraderie of it, just being around a good group of guys talking shit and doing that kind of stuff.
I struggle with the whole idea of like sweaty guys rolling around on a mat together, but
I swear you'll think about it the first time, and I think after that I don't even think about it anymore. I really don't.
I got a guy on my station, great dude, jiu-jitsu champion, like this guy, and he's actually, I think he's my age. Yeah, I think he's right at my age, but he can fold somebody up quick. And I've got one of the young rookies who wanted to challenge him the other day, and it's like, don't let him. And I was telling him, I said, buddy, don't let him get you to the ground. I said, if y'all land on the ground, you are done. I promise you. You better keep him upright as long as you can. And sure enough, they went down to the ground, and it was like tapping instantly. I said, yep, he got you.
I need to have the guy who runs my jiu-jitsu school. I need to have him on the podcast one day because he's got incredible stories. Because he's been doing jiu-jitsu since before it was popular.
Oh yeah,
it's like in 2013, I think is when he competed at what is like the Olympics for jiu-jitsu, which is ADCC.
Yeah,
and there was like 13 people in the audience. Like it was like nobody there, and then like the last one sold out an arena in like 30 minutes. Like it's like the last ADCC. It was crazy, but he's got some crazy stories where like. They used to have these gym wars, and he was telling me about. Do you know what Krav Maga is?
I've heard of it. I couldn't tell you. I know what it is.
I think it's like Israel's martial art or something like that. But it's basically like supposed to be tactical fighting, right? Well, this one dude came out like all decked out, and he was telling me this story. And I need to have him tell it on the podcast. But he's like, oh, this stuff that's Krav Maga, like decked out and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, like watching for a little bit, and then he's like, oh, that stuff would never work in a street fight and whatever. And Robbie's like, okay, you do whatever you want, punch me, like gouge me in the eyes, scratch, whatever you need to do, do that. And he goes, I'm only gonna use jiu-jitsu on you. And you're gonna get like, and we'll just test it out, and we'll see if you're right. And Robbie, do you know what a double leg is?
No.
A double leg is like a wrestling move where you basically like grab both their legs and take them to the ground.
Okay.
Robbie's like, I double legged him, mounted him, and then I took his back and choked him. And he's like, the first time he thought it was an accident. He stood back up, and the dude's like, well, no, let's go again. And Robbie was telling the story. He's like, he told the guy, I'm gonna do exactly what I just did again. And you're not going to be able to stop me. And he did the exact same thing. I think he said the dude like tried to kick him or kicked him in the leg, and then he just double legged him, took him down. Like I think there was like 3 times, and on the 3rd time the dude just like stormed out. After the 3rd time of doing the exact same thing, double leg, mounted, took his back, choked him.
Yeah, I like my ears. And everybody I know that's in any type of mixed martial arts or jiu-jitsu, whatever else, cauliflower ear. I like my ears.
It's avoidable. It's avoidable. I mean, I have a little bit in one of my ears, but there is people who will wear ear guards, which prevent that. Which I'm not against doing because there's a lot of dudes I roll with that their ears are mangled. But I tell you what, it's a good calling card for, hey, don't let this dude grab a hold of you.
When you got a mid-40s guy with his cauliflower ears sitting alone at the bar, that's not a guy
you want that to be your friend.
Yeah, that needs to be an ally, and you need to figure that out quick.
Yeah. I always liked it for a self-defense because, like,
Yeah.
I heard, you know who Jocko is? Every
everybody
firefighter,
knows
every
Jocko,
first responder, military
I've got
guy.
2 of his books. I'm
Yeah.
in the middle of reading. So.
Yeah, so Jocko has he has like a clip that went pretty viral where he's talking about why jiu-jitsu is like the best martial art for self-defense. He's like, because if you don't have a hold of me, I can just run away.
Yeah.
Like, you're not if I choose to stay and try and punch you, that's me like accepting that arrangement that you have set for me. But unless you've got a hold of me, I can just leave. But if you grab a hold of me, now you're in my world. You're fucked. So yeah, so it's I love that aspect to it too, because it honestly is probably the closest thing a person can feel like to a superpower in my mind. Because like if I do jiu-jitsu with somebody who's like it's their first day there, it's like a cakewalk for me.
Oh yeah.
Like I've rolled with people who've only been training for like 3 months, and I'm literally like looking off and like smiling at some of the other people like, what's up, bro, how you doing? And I'm like folding them up and stuff. It's great. It's
that
great.
just hurt my feelings.
But I get excited because the very first time I did jiu-jitsu, I was like, the dude, I mean, just destroyed me. This one dude, he was way smaller than me, like 50 pounds smaller. I mean, being a big 6 foot tall, 200 plus pound dude, you're kind of like, oh, I can hold my own.
Yeah.
And then you have some dudes 150 pounds throw you around like a toddler with his dad, and you're like, okay, all right, how can I get that way? Because that's not fair.
Yeah, learning the humility. That's my. I guess that would probably be my biggest weakness on that, because I'd be so mad and defeated, and like I'd walk around quiet. I'd like ride home at 20 miles an hour with the radio off.
Oh, I don't think one bit.
Like,
I think
I'd
you'd be so excited.
disappointed in myself.
I think you'd be so excited. I think you'd be like, I need to get that. Like that was so much fun. How do I get better? Like I need to learn all the things. I think you would be instantly obsessed, because that's what happened to me. I was nervous about it too, and then I immediately got obsessed. Where I was like, I need to do this. I need to commit so much time to this because I need to get better.
Yeah,
and I want to be as good as that dude.
Yeah,
because bro, it's so much fun. It's like playing chess with your body. It's crazy. I'll convince you one of these days. Next time we're up in Georgia, I'm gonna schedule, and we're gonna go do a class at the one of the local places.
Just remember, I don't do good when I get to fight mode. Fight mode, I become a different person. So I just know like knives and guns are not off limits for me when I get to fight mode.
Well, when we're in fight mode on mats, you're gonna be like, where'd he go? How's he behind me?
Where'd who go?
Why are your legs? What are your legs gonna do? It's the best. It's the best because like in jiu-jitsu, you like any ego you have gets put in check. And they basically like strip you of your ego, and then you slowly earn it back in pieces. and then once you have it, like once you have a big enough chunk, you've earned it.
Yeah. What is it? Break the will, not the spirit.
Yeah. It's. I mean, it's the most fun thing ever. I would. There's a lot of other things I would give up before I'd give up jiu-jitsu. It's super fun. And there's a lot of the thing that I think is cool about it is there's a lot of first responders. Military veterans, and they get that camaraderie that they had that they lose through one way or another, or they get a different level of camaraderie. Because at least when you go to jiu-jitsu, like you can pick which people you hang out with. When you're at the fire station, like you're with the guys that you're with the guys. Yeah.
And I get that whole camaraderie thing, because I was doing interviews the other day. We've got a bunch of new candidates coming in, and they asked me and said, talk to me about the mental health aspect of it and things of that nature. And we got into a little bit of what I was saying earlier about counseling and stuff. I said, but a lot of us come to work for that camaraderie, because the people that I work with understand what I've been through, and because they were with me when we went through it together. So it's kind of one of those, coming to work is our therapy, because but the thing is like that's the only group of people that we can really confide in and struggle with. But that's why firemen will find each other in a crowd. Like instantly, I'll find another fireman. If there's 1,000 people there, the two of us will find each other in 15 minutes, and all of a sudden we're best friends forever.
Well, and cops as well too.
Oh yeah, because we both understand stuff that nobody else in the world understands, like a level of struggle and instant brotherhood, because we need that support of somebody else there. So, yeah.
Now here's a question too, because something that a lot of people don't consider as well is like how much of it transfers into the firefighter's personal life. We talked a little bit about with daughters, but statistically, like that is one of the highest divorce rates. Is for a profession is firefighters. The divorce rate is skyrocket compared to most professions.
So definitely, police officers and firefighters have the highest divorce rate of any profession out there. And it's because of what we have to do and the decisions we make, but also making poor decisions when you're exhausted, and that's unfortunately in the fire service. There's a lot of affairs that happen, unfortunately, because you get people who've been working together 22, 23 hours. They're both exhausted. They're on a rig together. Yeah, and male, female, co-ed truck, whatever else, stupid stuff like that. But the other stuff is the bottling up the stresses that you have at work and hiding that from your family, and it turns toxic, and you don't even realize that your emotions are what's caused you to be toxic at home and things of that nature. And so we've got to take all kinds of measures to stay on top of it, so we're not taking it out on our families. And it's, for me, it's working out, working on guns, keep them busy. I'm kind of like a shark. If I ever stop moving, I die.
Right.
So
you can't deer hunt. We talked about that before. You can't deer hunt.
I can duck hunt. I can dove hunt because there's groups of people there, and I can run my mouth at them. But put me alone in a stand by myself, that's the worst possible place I could be.
Yeah. No, the thing too that I think when I think about the whole divorce rate with firefighters too is that a lot of it's from affairs, right? And I think that a lot of it comes from is like the adrenaline rush that firefighters need. Like their threshold for adrenaline is very high.
Yeah.
And I think that anything that gets their adrenaline spiked to where they can feel it again, and I think that unfortunately for a lot of them, that's something that gets that level of affairs can do that for them, and it's a new level of excitement. And so I feel like firefighters have an issue with being, I guess, is bored the right word?
I wouldn't necessarily. Yeah,
it's not bored. I would say just like not having an adrenaline spike, not having that rush.
They have to be challenged. They have to have some kind of excitement 24/7, and that's. I mean, whether at the station, if we're not running calls and we're not busy and training and stuff, my crew will be they'll be competing in basketball, or they'll be playing Madden or some baseball game, or video games, whatever else, weightlifting. They're always doing something, and so you're right. Yeah, there has to be something. But I tell you what, the happiest day of a firefighter is when we get a nasty working structure fire. It's also the worst day for our citizens, and we're trying to act like, this is just part of what we do, but internally we're like, yes, freaking structure fire, and so we're like running. It's the only time you see a firefighter actually run is they're running to the rig because we got radio calling. We got multiple calls in this heavy smoke from the second floor, blah 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 blah, and we're running out to the truck out of pure excitement. We're about to go face the demon, and that's fun.
Yeah. Well, there's that part of it, but then you talk about the schedule where it's 24 on, 48 off, and if they can't occupy those 48 hours off with things that keep them excited and keep them, they're going to find something that makes them that kind of excited.
That's why you get us with motorcycles, Corvettes, whatever else, jet skis, the whole 9 yards, or starting to have the parties at your house, and so I mean
the drinking,
and anything to keep something exciting happening. Yeah,
that's why I feel like you'd like jiu-jitsu. Is that adrenaline spike is insane. I'm being serious because when I blew out my rib the other day, was rolling.
I've watched you hold your ribs every time you laugh or cough or sneeze.
It's not been fun. Yeah, it's not been fun. But when I blew that rib out, I was like, I got to keep going, and it didn't hurt on the first one, but I think it was because of my adrenaline was spiking. And then next thing you know, once you actually leave and your adrenaline comes down to normal levels, and you're driving home, you're like, wow, I wish I would have stopped 20 minutes sooner. But I mean, dude, we all live for that thrill in jiu-jitsu, and that's why I think a lot of firefighters and cops love it so much, is because it's like there's the camaraderie side of it too, and I guess it's like a good way to get close to death. Like you're practicing murdering people. Yeah, it's like you're relying on taps.
Yeah, I'm gonna choke you till you tap me, or you poop yourself.
Right. Yeah. Well, not even. It's like if I got you in a rear naked choke and you tapped, what's stopping me? That tap is just you signaling I've had enough, and me going, okay, I'll stop now. Yeah. Is that's the difference. Yeah. It's like, let me just hold on to this a little bit more, and you're dead. You know what I mean? Where you have a broken arm or you have a broken knee or something. It's like, but I'm just I think that thrill of it, and then having that camaraderie in the fact that where you can be like, I can trust this person that they're not going to try and kill me. I don't know. It's just it's super fun. It is definitely
enemies. I'd
on the outside. On the outside, it is pretty gay. But,
like a bunch of sweaty dudes rolling around together.
But the funny part is like there's even shirts that says like there's like a tie-dye shirt that you could buy that says keep jujitsu gay. Just stuff like, and the straightest dudes wear it. It's always the straightest dudes that are like married with kids, and they're all just making all these gay jokes. It's the funniest stuff.
Well, all of my police friends make gay jokes towards fire department all the time. Like a bunch of men sleeping together, blah blah blah, all this stuff, and they're like, "You're not wrong. You're not wrong." So yeah.
Everything's gay. Everything's gay nowadays. It's turned the opposite. Where you used to not be able to say gay, and now everything's gay.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we still got the whole political correctness stuff we deal with.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. Times have changed a lot. Because when I grew up, like, it's funny because like my generation grew up watching the most horrendous things on TV, like Tosh.0, Family Guy, South Park, all these things, and I'm like, that's my level of humor. And then people are like, oh, you can't say all these things. I'm like,
oh yeah.
But why? We grew up with the most.
We did.
Like everything's racist now, but like the amount of jokes that we laughed at from Family Guy.
Well, like you even look at The Office. You watch The Office, and you're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe he said that." It's like it's so funny though. It's so funny. But I think we've definitely gone the wrong direction in society. I think we've got to be able to joke and tease and laugh about our differences.
Because what you say in a joking manner does not show what you believe either.
Yeah.
Because like I'll make jokes about the craziest stuff because it's funny, not because I actually believe that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, and that's it. I gotta make fun of myself. I make fun of other people. Other people make fun of me. It doesn't matter. We're just playing. It's good times.
Have you? There's a lot of comedians that I watch nowadays where I'm like because there is this like, oh, he didn't just say that, did he? Kind of thing. Yeah. That like you just see them like they're going for it, and like do you know who Shane Gillis is?
I may know the jokes. I'm terrible with names. So
Shane Gillis is he's got 2 specials out now, one on YouTube and one on Netflix, and he's got one called Beautiful Dogs that's hilarious. And he talks about he's got a cousin who is mentally challenged, and he tells this whole story. And like when you say like the word retarded, like people like I grew up saying like, oh, my friends are retarded, like, you know what I mean, like we would be joking, just saying he's stupid, but like, and then it became a word you can't ever say, and but like he navigates that word perfectly. It's so funny. They make stickers now about it. It's hilarious. It's you've got to watch it.
That reminds me, there was this guy, I think he was about to perform for one of those shows like Who's America's Got Talent or whatever else, and he comes on stage and they're like, tell us something about yourself. He's like, well, I'm not retarded, but I like rocks.
Oh, that the black dude. Oh, that's on Kill Tony. Yeah.
I have laughed so hard over that. He's like, this is the one I picked up out in the parking lot. I just like the way they feel in my pocket.
He's so
like,
ghetto too.
He's like, I'm not retarded, but I like rocks.
I ain't retarded or nothing, but I like rocks. It's like how he says it too. He doesn't say rocks, it rocks. It's just so funny.
Just crying, laughing.
Yep. Shane Gillis goes on that show all the time.
Does he?
Yeah, that's called Kill Tony. Yeah.
I've got some of the worst dark humor. The other day we were doing interviews and stuff, and one of our candidates was talking about, one of the questions, of course, is like, tell me a time when you're part of a team and blah blah blah. And they were like, yeah, we had the structure fire and the top, the house really burned up and it was real bad house, and we went in and to retrieve the ashes and urns of the grandparents and stuff that have passed, and dark humor just set in. I text everybody else on the panel, it's like twice baked.
Shit. Oh no. Can you cook ashes? Can you re-ash ashes? Oh no. Oh no!
At the table, and I'm just sitting there with my eyes covered as I'm trying to write in that confessional. But I'm the chief at the table.
Dude, see, I grew up on dark humor. Like,
I know.
My threshold. Talking about thresholds, my threshold for funny is like I'll watch a clean comic and I'm like,
oh yeah,
Shane Gillis is really funny. You just gotta watch it. I can't tell you anymore that he's probably top, like one of my favorite comedians of all time right now. He's super funny. But I love comedians that are just like shooting from the hip.
Oh yeah,
just going for it.
Oh, when they start calling out people in the crowd, and it's like, oh, this is going south quick, and
So Shane Gillis has a joke on his first YouTube special where he's talking about his dad, because this is like during COVID, and he's like, He's like, so this is the first time in my adult life that I'm back living with my parents. And he goes, and I've been studying them. And he's like, I never realized I had a Fox News dad. And he like nobody cheers or anything. He's like, I can see all you guys. You guys all have Fox News dads too. He's like, what do you want, like an MSNBC dad? We're like, oh, the environment at dinner. Was dad gay? Like, it was just funny. It was funny. And he's like, he's got a whole skit. And I'm like, is he talking to me about my dad right now? Because he's describing my father, who is a Fox News dad, who's just like, oh, I didn't say it. Tucker said it. You got to listen to Tucker. But it's super good. But I like that kind of stuff. I feel like there's been, I've said it on previous podcasts before too, where I feel like there's just been this pussification of new generations where it's like everyone's so worried about how they make other people feel, and which I guess in root is great, but like there's this superficial, like, I've watched some of these interactions with newer kids, and it's like you're trying to make someone feel good superficially, and it doesn't feel like it's coming from a good spot. It's like the words you're saying are like fluff, and I'm like when you hear dudes that sound like they hate each other with their words, but their intention is like, I love you, bro, but like you're being stupid. Like, that's hunting crowds.
It is, and that's what I love. We will smack talk each other like, dude, you suck so bad at shooting, da 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 da, and we're just, I mean,
that's a light one.
Oh yeah, that's a light one. I'm being PG right now, but it's the best, and we're sitting there crying, laughing, even though I'm the target of the jokes today or whatever else,
and it changes every day.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't. It's
if you fumble one word, you're now the epitome of everything for the rest of the trip. Yeah.
That's in my own household.
Yeah, that's
Cadence will catch you. You slip up one word, that she will repeat it that way the rest of the day and find 1,000 ways to say it. And it's like, oh, I hate you so much, but I love you at the same time because that was pretty good.
Yeah, you made a bunch of savages. Yeah. No, that's fun. That's half the fun of it. It's just being able to make fun of people politely.
So yeah, you're talking about society and stuff. I get so frustrated with the assumed, like the assumed issues that nobody's made an issue of. People were talking about years back. It started with like the tomahawk chop with the Braves and all that stuff, and
all
that's
the football
offensive.
Teams changed. Yeah,
and that's so offensive to the Indians. Like, what Indian actually said that? And they couldn't find one. It was just white people assuming like this is offensive, and it's like they're like, dude, we don't care about that.
It's all white people complaining for somebody else who didn't give a shit.
And it's like we've got all of this stepping around and tiptoeing, and it's like, why are we tiptoeing? Because all the people that we think would be offended do not care about these things. Why don't we go back to enjoying life and enjoying each other? And
it's
celebrate
the loud minority of people who are saying these things.
Celebrate differences, even if we're joking. And I've got a great buddy at work. I love him to death, and he's like, my kind of people, we do this and this and this, and we kind of joke back and forth. And I was like, yeah, my people, we do. We go back and forth with that, and I'm being limited on what I say so I don't get myself in trouble, just in case somebody and the bosses hear this. But and it's like, thank you for not being a sensitive prick, and we can actually talk, and I can understand the differences between our two communities.
Yeah, well, it's like in jiu-jitsu, we were talking about what's like how the word racism has changed so much. Now, like, just mentioning a race as a heterosexual white male makes you a racist, and it's like I'm like that's crazy, because like racism used to mean you hated another person just because of their race. Yeah, and it's like. It's like to deny that somebody is another. It's like it's even affected my grandma. My grandma once, because my wife is Mexican, I said something along the lines of like, yeah, my wife's a Mexican, and like she was like, hey, she's not that, and I was like, what do you mean? Like,
her family's from Mexico.
I'm like she's 100% Mexican. Like, she grew up here, but she was born in Mexico. Yeah. I was like, but I'm like, you've associated that with being a negative thing. Yeah. That's like, I associate that with being a positive thing. Yeah. It's just different. We're both looking at the same thing from different angles.
Yeah. And I've had people, because in my where I work, we're an incredibly diverse area, and we're trying to talk. That PD officer, the skinny black guy, blah blah blah. He's got dreads. And they're like, why'd you call him black? Because he is black.
It's like you got to be scared to say that.
And then I'm also like, the big, thick white guy,
Yeah. No one bats an eye.
Yeah, no one bats an eye. But but I'm describing the person so they can figure out who it is. Because, we got every race, every type, everything that I work with. And it's like, people are like, you really shouldn't describe them by their color of their skin. Well, I'm not calling them a savage name. I'm
short,
saying,
black, curly hair.
Yeah.
Like you can push it down, but have you? Do you know who Mark Norman is? Another stand-up comedian, very dark comedy.
Yeah.
He one of the things he was talking about. He's like you can identify everything by its color except for people. He's like the blue car and the red backpack and the dude with the black shoes, and he's like, but it was a black guy. And you're like,
oh, he's racist.
You can't do that.
Yeah. I would definitely love for our society to not to back off from the sensitivity train. It's like
I think we've just gotten I think it was the 2020 election. I just remember going for a run on the day of when like all the results, it was just all over social media and everywhere. And I'm like, there are too many people worried about what happens in the White House and not enough people worried about what happens in their own house.
Yeah.
And if more people took Jocko's kind of mentality of like, just be responsible for everything that happens in your own life. You can't control what other people do, but you can control what happens in your house.
Oh yeah.
And most people will blame all their problems on someone else. From my experience, the people that have and I'm not going to shit on people, but I don't know how else to say it other than like the people that have the less desirable lives, the people who are like in poverty or have, all these terrible things that are going, like from any person's looking at them, they would be like, that's not the life I want to have for most people. Those people always seem to have an excuse for why the world has done them wrong.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And and that frustrates me. It's like, look, the reason I am where I am is because I busted my tail. Every day I got up and went the extra mile. I fought for every step that I had. Nobody gave me nothing. Nothing. Nobody gave it to me. I didn't have any special privileges or anything like that. I earned and worked, and I tried to be the best that I could be, and that's how I got where I am. And if you're not willing to take the steps that I've taken, don't gripe at me and say that nobody gave you any, because nobody gave me anything.
It's hard decisions over and over again.
Yeah.
It's not. It's that. I mean, have you seen the Jocko video where he talks about oh man, what is it? Extreme ownership.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He's got a
book.
So he's got a book about it. It's just, that's a great one. It's just, like he talks about how, when he was in was it Afghanistan or where basically there was this big battle and like two of their guys ended up getting shot and I think I don't know if they got killed, but I know that they had killed some friendly Iraqis on accident and or friendlies, whatever they were. I can't remember the story. Basically, he like took full accountability for it, even though it wasn't his fault. He said, "But I operate those people, so it is my fault."
Yeah. Oh yeah. Trust me, being in my position in the fire department, even if I'm not at the station where a disaster happens, it comes down on me. And it's if I had led them better, they would have made better decisions, and that kind of stuff could have prevented if I had invested more in that person, whatever else. So yeah, that's part of the ownership of, I have to take responsibility because they are a direct reflection of my leadership. And if I had, if they're making really, accidents are going to happen, but if they just make a piss poor judgment call and do something that they really shouldn't have done, like, I don't know, I'm not saying this has happened, but like, let's say they decide they want to smoke dope on duty and they get busted, well, that's going to come back on me. Like, what kind of example are you setting where they can feel comfortable doing something like that at the station? So it's never happened, but that's, I'm just trying to throw that out as an example.
Well, that leads me to another question I have, which is like something that I've been considering too. When like, what's like the best philosophy to guide a household by, and to like raise children and I keep coming back to, like, as crazy as it sounds, like you look at like Jewish culture and like Chinese culture and how they have such a high standard. Like they have set these real, like, these are what these high expectations of their kids, and they have set like they're like we this is just what we do. This is our expectations, and they have high expectations for their kids. But I feel like when they do that, they're setting an example of like, we won't settle for mediocrity. And I feel like there's been a lot of people that will like let their kids settle for mediocrity because their parents have settled for mediocrity. How do you feel about is the best way to raise kids to make sure they're shining lights?
All right, I'm going to change a total direction from where we've been in all this from this point, from everything up to this point. You ready?
Yeah.
Biblical. Hands down biblical. Men need to be men, and their wives need to be wives and mothers. And what that means is God put it on us as men to be the providers to protect our families, to put a roof over their heads, to make sure that they're fed, make sure all their needs are met. Men are ordered to love our wives, love our children, but wives are never ordered to love their husbands in Scripture, period. And that means we have to go that extra mile every day. And we also have to allow our wives the authority and responsibility of having the flexibility to raise the children. And we come in as the disciplinarians. We come in as the direction. Yes, I'm the head of my household. Am I not loud enough?
No, you're good. I'm making sure it's still recording.
Okay.
I'm just making sure the time's
so,
still
So I am the head of my household, but my wife and I, granted, I've got an abnormally incredible wife. Not only can she manage me and all the issues that I come to the table with, but she is just an incredibly patient woman, and she's an incredible teacher, an incredible leader in our household. And it's only been a handful of times in our marriage that I've ever had to say, no, this is the way I feel that this needs to go, and I'm gonna throw I'm the head of this household card. Only a handful of times. 99.99% of the decisions happen as mainly she makes the majority of the decisions, and I'm eyeballing things to make sure that they're going in the right direction. But yeah, we work together, and my job, Scripture makes it clear that a man who doesn't take care of his family and provide for his family is like an infidel, which is, we typically hear that in Islamic stuff, but I mean it's the same meaning of like a non-believer. Mm-hmm. And so I empowered my wife to fully fulfill her role, and she supports me so that I can do better in my role. And we also love each other in front of our kids, and our kids get to see a loving relationship. And then I also, as the dad, I have to set those boundaries with the kids. Like, these are the expectations. Now, I'm not going to accept this. This behavior is not okay, and it's not happening in our household. And if your mom is mad at you, when she tells me, I'm going to be 10 times madder, because now you've made my wife mad. And so
she gets mad enough on her own.
Oh yeah, she gets mad enough on her own. And then when I come in right behind her, because by God, I'm going to back her up on everything. Mm-hmm. And so Melissa and I, we stay unified in all of our decisions. We're unified, and when something, we decide something's going to go a direction, that's the direction we both go at it as a team. And so the kids see that, and they have no choice but to respect it, because as long as I was paying the bills, and as long as they're going to follow, mm-hmm. This is the way it is. But we didn't really have these wars in our house because we set that example up front. Mm-hmm. As when the girls were young, as soon as they started pitching temper tantrums and getting out of line, we spanked. And people will say, "Oh, spanking is it hurts me more than it hurts them." No, it doesn't. When the girls made me mad enough to spank them, I got it out. I tore their rear ends up, got onto them, and 15, 20 minutes later, I'd hug them, and I'd coach them through the next step. But, they knew I loved them, but I had no problem tearing them up. And then a lot of times they start acting a fool in the grocery store. I'd squat down next to them like, "You keep acting a fool like this, and I'm going to tear your butt up right here in the middle of this grocery store aisle. Do you understand me?" And their eyes would start to swell up with tears, and like, "You got me?" But as far as expectations, when we laid those expectations out with the kids, they knew we were serious because they had always seen us unified. Mm-hmm. And they always knew there were repercussions if they didn't perform to those expectations. And granted, it sounds big and tough right here, but the reality is we had to set that foundation, and then after that, it was just navigating the waters.
I'm assuming that wasn't 24/7. That was probably a handful of times that those situations ever happened. Mm-hmm. Once you've struck that fear into them,
oh yeah,
and they realize there's a power dynamic.
Oh yeah,
and they don't have as much power as they'd like to think they have.
Yeah.
Then it's kind of a little bit more smooth sailing.
Yeah.
They know who the boss is. They know who the other boss is, and then they just keep rolling.
Drives me nuts when I hear my friends. They're I'm like, "Hey, where's your kid at today?" "Oh, he didn't want to get out of bed this morning." I said, "To come to church?" Like, your 12-year-old son, you let him have that choice? You didn't dump a bucket of water on his head and drag him out of his bed and throw him in the shower?
It was an option, yeah. Therefore, they're going to pick the option that they want. Yeah.
They don't have a choice. Like that. It's your household, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Are you the husband in the house? Are you the father in that house? Are you the example that you're supposed to be?
That's the thing I think about a lot. Is like, more is caught than is taught. They're going to learn how you are, and they're going you can tell them 10 ways to Sunday, like, part of the reason that I read a lot is because when I do have kids, I want them to read, because I think reading is when I look at a lot of successful people, the common denominator I've found is that they all read.
They do.
A lot of nonfiction books to try and, like, self-help books to try and just, if they pick up something from a book, that could be incredibly valuable. And I think that that's a huge skill. I resented reading. Like, I read like one book in all of school that I actually enjoyed. Everything else I hated. But I knew that I was like, I'm just going to have to choke down some books sometimes and then keep going. And I've gotten it to a habit now where it's like every morning I wake up at 5 a.m., I get my cup of coffee, and I sit down and I read.
Yeah, I'm trying. I try to read. I have, like I said earlier, if I ever stop moving, I make a joke of it like I'm a shark. If I ever stop moving, I'll just die. If I sit down and I have alone time sitting down, I will fall asleep. It doesn't matter if I had a full night's sleep. Sitting still drives me nuts. And so if I'm sitting still trying to read, even if it's a book I like to read, I'm falling asleep. And it's just my own issue. I've dealt with it my entire life. I've read.
I was the same way, but I figured out that if I read in the mornings when I first wake up, and I if I've got up and turned lights on and had enough energy to fix my cup of coffee, maybe make a couple eggs for breakfast or something, and then I can go sit in a rocking chair and I can read with the lights on. Because I know I have to go to work, I can't just fall back asleep in the rock chair. But like, for some reason, there's also this issue I have where my mind is too busy. Yeah. And first thing in the morning, it's calm in the household. Everybody else is asleep. The dog's for the most part leaving me alone, and she's still asleep. Like, it makes it so where there's just so much calm that I'm not stirred up yet. Once I get stirred up, I'm going the rest of the day until I go to bed. Yeah. That's why I like ending my night with jiu-jitsu so much, because it exhausts me completely. Yeah. I take a 30-minute drive home. I get home. I'm tired. I eat. I shower, and I'm in bed. Yeah. And it works great. So I have a good schedule.
I do read in the mornings. It's not much, though. I get up 30 minutes before I have to start getting ready, and I'll do my coffee and I'll read. So my morning routine is coffee, reading, praying, then shower, and all that stuff. But you're right. In the morning is the only time my head is completely clear where I can focus on just what I'm reading. And I'm not reading much. I'm getting maybe 10 pages in the morning.
Dude, that's all it takes. 10 pages every day. It adds up over a lifetime.
That's relatively a new thing, because typically, I'd read my Bible every single morning, and I've read it through and through many, many times. So now I'm actually trying to read books outside of the Bible, and I've got like Pastor Benny's next new book that I've been working on and stuff like that. So I'm doing I'm stepping out of my normal box. But yeah, reading, it has helped me. I noticed it's helped me even in normal everyday conversations, where I would normally stutter and struggle. I'm actually firing from the hip a lot faster than I normally would, like a quicker wit. And the only change has been dedicating to reading every morning.
I like it because, like, the books that I'm reading right now, I'm doing a book club podcast with 2 other buddies as well, where like that helps hold me accountable. Like, one of the books I'm reading now, like, I have to have it finished reading by next week, and I'm slightly past the halfway point. Yeah. So, like, having that, like, as crazy as it sounds, like in school, if I had a deadline on when a project was due, and I was forced to have it done by then, like, the closer it gets, the harder I start working at it. And I would procrastinate it, but I still would get it done. Having this deadline of because every time we finish the previous podcast, when we move on to the next book, I pick the next date a month later. So I'm like, by this date, we all have to be finished with this book. And it really helps. It holds me accountable knowing there's 2 other dudes, and we're going to sit down and we're scheduled to talk about it. I don't want to be the one dude there who's sitting there like, I never finished this book. You know what I mean? I don't want to be.
It's like me in a group project. I was in high school. I was always the kid that did the least. Like, I didn't really pull my weight, but I'm here and I get credit with everybody else.
Oof. Yeah. You're the guy everybody hated.
I was that. Yes.
And now you're leading people.
Now, yeah.
Well, how the turns have tables, or whatever the saying is.
Was it my how the turntables
have how the turntables
he just kind of like pauses in the office.
The office. Yeah. It's a great
show.
I've watched it like 7 times. If I devoted as much time to positive aspects as I have The Office, I love that show. It's like one of those shows that you just feel good watching it.
I know, every time.
I could have a real shit day. Yeah. And then just flip The Office on, and I'm just like, everything. You just like sink a little deeper in your chair. You know what I mean? You're just like, it's all.
And then like the stuff he says, like, This is a hate crime. He's like, well, I hated it.
That's not what a hate crime is. Well, I hated it. It's the best. It's the best.
Good stuff.
So, do you want to take a moment and we can get some more wine?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, whatever coffee we were drinking.
Whatever coffee, yes.
Your switch is like half undone. It's been bothering me this whole time.
The look of it.
Just the look of it. That's it.
Oh.
What kind of beer do you got there?
It's a gluten-free beer. It's okay.
What is
It's called Dara Dam.
Bring them over here too. Put them on the table too, because I'll try it. Can't guarantee I'll drink a whole one, but I'm more curious to like what it tastes like. Because I if you told me that, like I said, I didn't even realize there's gluten in beer.
Yeah. Well, so barley and malt and all that stuff have got gluten in them. I don't think I want one right now.
Okay, I'll drink it. So, to pick back up, I'm drinking a gluten-free beer.
Yes.
So, how long have you guys been gluten-free for?
Oh goodness. I want to say about 7 years.
And tastes like a beer to me.
Yeah, that one's actually really good. We've tried several different brands, and most of them taste like water. They taste like sorghum syrup or whatever else they tried to make it with, and that's the only one. That one actually is crafted as a beer, and then they filter it to reduce the gluten down to like the minuscule levels. So most people with celiacs and gluten intolerance can drink that one.
Because it doesn't. One of your daughters has celiacs.
Yeah. My youngest daughter's got full-blown celiacs. She went from being a normal kid to the skinniest, smallest one in her class, and then she started having some serious health issues, and it took us about a year to diagnose, and then finally we got her into a pediatric GI doctor who did an endoscopy and colonoscopy and all that stuff on her, and they came back. They said she has full-blown celiacs. She's eating as much as she wants, but she's starving to death because her body can't process it. And they said you have to do a drastic change. So Melissa and I went full-blown.
And you're eating like a normal American at this point, right?
Oh yeah, all the way up until that point at I guess about 7 years ago, 6-7 years ago, and so we went cold turkey everything. We learned that there's gluten in everything. They got it in spices and stuff like drinks, and like why do you add gluten to drinks? It's literally the glue inside a wheat germ, and then it's also in barley and malt and all that other stuff. So why it's being added into everything, I don't know. I think that maybe part of the problem is there's just too much of it. It's not just you're getting a piece of bread a day. You're getting wheat products in everything that you eat and drink.
So maybe your body just is getting more, and it builds up over time, and then whatever mechanism in your body that regulates it just breaks or something.
Yeah, I've got my own theory on some of that too.
I'd love to hear it.
All right, so in I think the early 90s, they started using glyphosate on wheat to help it dry out.
And what about folic acid? Have you heard about that?
No, I haven't. But the glyphosate is Roundup. They spray all the wheat, thousands and thousands of acres of wheat with that, so it dries up, so they can process it easier.
I've never heard it pronounced like you pronounced it.
How do you hear it?
Glyphosate.
Well, whatever, same, yeah.
Glyphosate.
Glyphos. Oh heck! Now I'm gonna have to get out like Google and whatever it is, the product around.
Yeah.
So they all the cancers and everything else that have been caused by it, and all those the lawsuits that have been won from all the people who've had to spray it and they've gotten sick, the whole 9 yards. Well, that's what they're spraying all of our food with. And there are several countries around the world that don't allow it to be sprayed, and the celiac rates in those countries are minuscule compared to America. And if you look at America, our celiac rate skyrocketed thousands of percent when they started using that, and that became a normal product to be used on wheat. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. Like, hey, when we started doing this, all of a sudden all these people started getting sick at an unnatural rate. What have we changed to make this happen?
Well, another thing in the 90s that happened, I think it was in 93 or 98. My dyslexia is getting a little bit best of me, but they started making it was mandatory in all white products, white rice, white flours, all that stuff. It says fortified or enriched. with
Yes.
folic acid.
Yeah.
So folic acid is a man-made thing. I've learned all of this stuff in recent history. Do you know who Gary Brecka is?
Nope.
So Gary Brecka is like this big dude who's like getting pretty popular on social media. But he used to be he worked for an insurance company. Basically, he would like read your information and he would determine when you're going to die based upon how you live your life.
Was he accurate?
Really accurate.
Okay.
But that's a normal position apparently for these life insurance companies.
Yeah.
And I forget what his title is. I'm butchering all of this. I'm giving you
There's going to be somebody in
this
the
is the
comment
fast food
section
version.
that's just ripping you apart.
They can do what they want. I
Yeah.
don't care. But they should start their own podcast if they care that much. But basically, he talks about how like depending upon which study you look at, 40 to 60% of Americans cannot they have what's called the MTHFR gene, which abbreviated is the motherfucker gene.
Yeah.
And
I was putting that together, and I was okay.
That's what they call it. And so they have this MTHFR gene, and that gene is in anywhere from 40 to 60% of Americans.
Okay.
And depending upon which study you look at, it's between that range. But that means they can't process folic acid. Folic acid is man-made by the same company that makes Roundup,
Oh yeah. Wouldn't surprise me.
and it has been mandated on all. And basically wheat products and
enriched
rice.
foods.
Yeah. And so like anything that is non-organic for flour or anything like that will say fortified or enriched.
Yeah.
Which means that it's been sprayed with folic acid. It's mandatory. It's government regulated. It has to happen. Well, the reason being is for in theory, a good reason. So folic acid is what pregnant women need to help, apparently something to do with the brain development or tube development or something like that.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah. Basically, it's supposed to help because your body's supposed to process folic acid and turn it into folate, which is the usable product. And most people cannot make that transaction. Somewhere between 40 to 60% of people cannot make that transaction. And then they get this buildup of what he called homocysteine, which is basically a poison in your blood. And you get this buildup. And like Dana White, the founder of the CEO of the UFC, he basically, like, there's a famous video of him going around. He said, "I will never go to another primary care doctor ever unless my arm's broken. I'm going to this guy for my health." And he paid him probably a ton of money. I don't know, but basically Gary Brecka took Dana White, who was like overweight, maxed out on blood pressure medications, and was basically given. He's like, "Dude, you're not going to live but another 10 years," and he's like in his 50s. And Dana White, within I think 2-3 months, had got his blood pressure to normal levels and had taken him completely off of blood pressure medication because they started, like, they basically do like blood work to test for your genetics, and then they tested for his genetics, and they basically started like supplementing specifically for his genetic sequence. It's incredible stuff to listen to for me, because I'm like, it all makes sense, but maybe I'm just one of the idiots he's catering to. I don't know. I'm open to either side of it, but it's just interesting because like everything that he said in that podcast that I Googled is verifiable.
Yeah. I watch a lot of Dana stuff, and he's got that new brain drug that he's got out there, and I can't remember what it's called.
I don't know.
It's always on my Instagram. It's but it's expensive, and it's talks. I can't remember. Daggone.
Some kind of neurotropic or something, like mushroom.
I see it like every day on my Instagram, and it's just one of those things that pops up. But dang, I can't remember what it's called. Anyways, but yeah, the reviews on it are incredible, and I've entertained getting it. You know, I've had ADD my whole life, and I sure would love to be able to focus and do things, because
I sure love to focus.
But like I've got Ritalin, but Ritalin like makes me so anxious. Like it works, but at the same time, I'm ready to fight everybody that I'm around.
It's the same like interactive ingredients as meth. I mean, you're basically microdosing meth on Ritalin.
The generic name of it is methylphenidate.
Yeah.
So it's meth. Yeah. It is. It's prescription meth. But yeah, I'm not a good person when I take it, so I try and avoid it. And I'm just like, I'll just let my ADD run rampant.
Yeah.
And
you're going to be more focused on the things you like? Oh no, sue you.
Yeah. So, but heck, I don't even know where we're going. But you were talking earlier.
I was going to say Dana has a 6-pack now.
Yeah.
He went from being like super overweight to now he's like jacked.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he eats a lot better too now, but like he was literally willing to do anything. Like he was doing all these things that were supposed to make him healthy, and he was the sickest he's ever been.
Yeah.
But it's because he was spinning his wheels doing all of these things that was just not beneficial for his genetic code.
I noticed he's stopped. As far as I've noticed lately, in the last year or so, I haven't seen him really promoting marijuana and stuff like he used to. He used to promote marijuana as one of his big outlets. I'm thinking of the same guy, right? That you're thinking of. He's always on the side of the UFCs. He's plenty of memes and stuff about him. And
the bald dude, white bald dude,
bald dude. I'm 99% sure I'm thinking of the same guy that you're talking about.
It's possible. Maybe we just see different sides of him.
Yeah, maybe. All right. But,
I see him from the UFC side all the time. So what they want him to be purveyed as.
Yeah. So you were talking about the same company producing the Roundup and folic acid and all that stuff.
Do you want to know something else they made?
They also are the prescription company. All your antacids and everything else. Mm-hmm. If you trace the origins of the same company that makes Roundup,
Bayer is the parent company.
Yes,
who makes aspirin.
Yes.
Also, because they bought Monsanto, the original company's Monsanto.
We call that Monsanto.
Well, have you ever heard of this chemical they sprayed in Vietnam called Agent Orange?
Oh yeah.
The largest producer by volume was Monsanto.
Oh yeah.
Did you know that? You probably didn't know that.
Oh, I know a lot about Monsanto.
Monsanto is crazy.
Yeah.
You were talking to me about how your dad has a giant collection of Coca-Cola stuff.
Yes.
There is this investigative journalist. I cannot remember his name, but I heard him on a podcast once talking about Coca-Cola and Monsanto. He, right out of college, the first 2 books he wrote, and he did them as books instead of just like journal articles because there was just so much he had to go over. And he talks about Coca-Cola, but he's an environmental journalist, so he looks at it from an environmental perspective. But he's not like one of those like hippy dippies, like, oh my god. He was just talking about the environmental impact of these companies, and he focused. The first book is it's called Citizen Coke, and then the other book, I do not remember the name of it. I let my grandfather borrow it because I figured he was affected by Agent Orange, and I figured he would like it. Before he passed away, he was telling me he didn't know what he did with the book, so I don't know where it's at. But if I ever find it, I need to read that one. But it was about Monsanto, and they horrible stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And you know why why that's such a weird contrast, right? Coca-Cola and Monsanto. How are these related? Well, Monsanto makes the coca extract for the Coca-Cola. Okay. They are the only legal company in the United States that can import coca leaves. Okay. Which is, they extract the cocaine from the coca leaves as well, and they get the coca extract that's actually used in Coca-Cola. Yeah. Whole thing. I learned way too much about it. I digress.
So coca leaves, I've got a lot of experience with that. When I was in Peru.
I was about to say, you need to explain yourself.
Yes. So, no, and I've got legitimate reasons. We would go to Cusco, Peru, which is one of the highest elevation cities in the world. And the air is so thin that you have to have some help so that you can walk. Like, you'd walk 100 yards, and it's as if you just ran a mile, and you're just gasping for air because you're just not getting it. The air's so thin. So the coca leaves, you make a tea with it. You just get the cocaine leaf tea, the cocaine leaf, and literally boil it and turn it into tea. And it's not
just trace amounts of cocaine in it at that point.
No, not even that. It's actually not. It's without it being chemically processed, you don't get the cocaine out of it, but you get the blood thinning effect of it. So it is a blood thinner, helps you breathe better. And like when we were in Cusco, Peru, I had to live on that stuff because I couldn't breathe, and I was in the fittest shape of my life. And I was 21, 22. And just like I couldn't walk 100 yards without gasping. And
how high is the elevation there? Do you know?
I want to say it's like 16,000.
Jeezy Pete.
Oh yeah,
that's insane. That's crazy.
I got to Google it. I feel like there's going to be people in your feed that are like,
no,
this guy's an idiot.
Well, that's besides the point. But for this specific reason. If they're following along, they pretty much have assumed I'm an idiot on some things, but at least I'm honest.
Okay, so it's only 11,152 feet.
That's still incredible.
Yeah, so you're looking 2 miles above sea level.
So I'm normally in Florida, and when we flew
you're like 30 feet above sea level.
Oh, I destroyed. Not even 3.
Yeah.
We're at sea level. So we flew. So my wedding night, we got trashed, and on 3 or 4 hours of sleep, flew directly to Denver, Colorado from sea level.
Yeah.
Which you're supposed to be super hydrated when you get to high elevations. Oh, yeah. We were incredibly dehydrated.
Oh, yeah.
And we got to Denver, which is the Mile High City.
Yeah.
And then we drove to Breckenridge, which from Denver to Breckenridge, you're basically going up the whole time. So we went from a mile high, which is like, 5,000-6,000 square feet, or 5 to 6. Wow, I'm got square feet on my brain, but elevation's like 6,000 feet, just shy of that for a mile, whatever. We went up to almost 10,000 square feet oh my god! I said, did it again.
No, you guys were way up there.
Yeah.
Breckenridge is 9,600 square feet. 9,600
I did
feet.
it.
Yeah.
I transferred it.
So you're only 2,000 less than Cusco. So yeah.
But that's at the base that's at the town level. It goes like because I had like an active elevation tracker.
Oh yeah. Look at elevation reaches 12,900. So actually you were higher than Cusco.
And we were skiing down on like a slope that was probably 200 to 300 feet up.
Oh yeah.
From the city. And I mean, dude, like we were at the Airbnb and there's like 5 steps to get to where the room was. And I remember taking those 5 steps and being like, whew, like I did one exhale and I was like, what the hell? I was like, I could run a 5K back home.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yep.
How am I out of breath right now? It's insane.
That's why you see a bunch of like Olympic runners and stuff. They do their training in high elevation places because when they go to the Olympics, they're 500 feet above sea level, and their bodies are built for snatching air out of really thin air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like a lot of UFC fighters that are fighting at elevation. Like if you watch a UFC fight in Utah or Colorado, those dudes, like if they weren't there months ahead of time to get their blood levels acclimated to it, they get so tired so quickly. And it's because you're just not ready for it. The oxygen everywhere it's not like they're pumping extra oxygen into their arena.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah. So like all the people in Cusco, they're tiny. Like everybody's midget level. Like you're like the normal height of a man would be like maybe 4'11", 5 foot, and women 4'6", like very small.
4'6".
Oh
wow.
yeah, and it was just like, and it's all strictly because of the oxygen level out there. It's just
really?
So low. Yeah.
But then I mean, are people in Colorado short? I don't know.
I don't know.
I didn't really notice.
Yeah, I'm sure there's also a vitamin deficiency there too, but
yeah, from being covered.
It was still like third world. So. At the time when I was there, I'm sure it's second world by now.
What does that mean? I never heard second world.
Okay.
Are we all just passing up second world? I know there's first and third.
There's plenty of second
never even
world.
considered second world.
Belize is second world.
What does that mean?
So it's not as impoverished as third world, but it's not as good as like America or France or Germany or England. So there's still a level of societal poverty, but not like here. They may have good taxes, they may have hospitals and educational stuff, but third world typically, school is optional or privatized. We have to pay to go if you go to school at all. That kind of stuff.
Okay.
So
it's less educated, but not educated.
So like Belize, like I could speak to a kid in perfect English in Belize, when I was in the country of Belize, and they'd speak back to me this and this. Somebody would say something in Spanish behind them. They'd go back to them in Spanish. They'd come right back to my conversation in English. They were able to handle tourism, all of these things. It was amazing to see, and so their economical status, because it was easy for I guess people traveling through to navigate the country, because there's so many people that could bilingual and all of these things. More money's flowing in there. They've got better educational systems. Even in Belize, though, the highest government funded education at the time was 6th grade. So
I mean, I really don't think you need much past that in America. You know what I mean? Like when you get into high school, a lot of it's just bullshit.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's a lot of like, like a lot of what I feel like I learned in high school was not worth it, anyways. I mean, as long as you know how to read and write and can solve some math problems, I feel like that's respectable. Yeah. As long as they have like high standards for their 6th graders, I'm just thinking.
Honestly, I think you may be touching on something there, because I think the most useful education I got was all the way up to 8th grade. Basic algebra, that stuff. When I got into all the advanced stuff, I've never used that again.
No.
Yeah, algebra and basic algebra has been the go-getter in my life.
Yeah, and just knowing how to make basic algebra equations too. Yeah, I firmly believe that after I think starting in middle school from like 6th to 8th grade, that is when it should start to transition into teaching you adult things. How to cook, how to clean, how to change your oil, how to change your tires. But here's the problem. We touched on this earlier, not in this podcast, but just in general, is that The government doesn't want people to be self-sufficient. They want a bunch of people that need the government. Because if you need, I've never even thought about committing suicide. So if I end up suicided, you'll know that someone found me. It was the government. Isn't that funny? That's a verb now. Is getting suicided? Yeah. That's something that can happen. But just thought I'd make mention of that. You're right. But I think that it should make better, stronger citizens. If you made it to where people they like to say, oh, we're trying to make people better in the science field and the math field and all these things. I'm like, most of the time, like these people, you could help them transition into being good adults, teach them how to be good adults, and then let them figure out what they want to do for their career on their own. Because you're not going to teach them.
It is a shame. Like some of the things I would have loved to have understood taxes better. I'd have loved to understood how to balance.
Make a budget.
Yeah. Balance the checkbook better. There's so much useless stuff that I was taught and forced to learn and forced to pass if I was going to be out of school that I've never used. And it's like there are so many skills that I would have loved to have had. Now, thankfully, I had a dad that would teach me, taught me how to change oil, and I learned basic use of tools, and I knew how to crank up a chainsaw and all that kind of stuff. But like in the fire service, we're dealing with kids coming in that have never operated a tool in their life of any shape or form. And it's like we're having to educate what mixed fuel is. And we're having to all these things that are natural to most of us. And now it's like the majority of the people coming in have no clue about the basic.
A 2-stroke versus a 4-stroke motor.
I mean, just anything mechanical.
Yeah.
And I'm like, our entire field is mechanical.
Dude, I feel like one of the best things you can ever do for society is have 2-parent households.
Oh, yeah.
A mother and a father.
Well, yes. And I think, we were talking about this. I can get on a rampage on this all by myself. But I feel like the government really split the family to double the taxes. The reality is you go back 40, 50 years, single income household was normal. Absolutely normal. And they figured out a way to let's make the American dream look better. Let's really get the women in the workforce. The only purpose for that was to double how much taxes they were getting. We got all these women in the workforces. Now we've got double the taxes coming into the government, things of that nature, which of course in turn split the families. Because like Melissa and I, before she went to being a stay-at-home mom, we were both killing ourselves at work. We'd come home after just being whooped and both of us would just melt into the couch, and we got 3 kids desperate for our attention, but there wasn't anything left of us. Like we couldn't parent, and the school was raising our children, and we decided that's not the way we wanted to be. And that's why we had to make that hard call, and man, it was tight for years.
And that's an old school thought too when you guys did that.
Oh yeah.
How weird was it at that time when you made that decision? Because how many people were doing that?
Nobody. Everybody looked at us like we had 3 heads. And I was like, they're like, Melissa's leaving the hospital? Yeah. What is she going to do? Nothing. She's going to be she's stay-at-home mom.
The hardest job there is, actually.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. And people would ask me like, well, Melissa's got all this time in the world. No, she doesn't. She's busting her tail raising those girls. I'm busting my tail keeping a roof over their heads and being the example in the household, but she's busting their tail being the hands down leader of that household, and she's doing a great job at it.
Well, I look at it from the perspective of like what's going to be the most. I don't know if I was telling you this or who I told this to recently, but I was basically saying when you get to the end of your life, what are you going to be more happy about? You're going to be happy that you gave a mother the opportunity to raise their kids and spend that time with them and be that parent to them. And then because she does that, then you get to be the dad that you would want to be of your dreams too. And like you probably get so much joy and satisfaction out of being able to provide for them and then be able to get home and know that your house has already been taken care of so you can focus on being a dad in those moments and not have to focus on, we got to feed the kids. We got to do this. We got to do dishes. We got to take trash out. We got to do the budget. I got to like your mom at some point. All those things bases are covered. Your kids are taught. Your kids been with mom all day. They probably were overjoyed every time you came home because they didn't have to sit with mom anymore.
And coming home, and I wouldn't say our house was always like perfectly clean and all of that stuff, but I'd come home and the majority of things that I would have had to do if both of us were working were taken care of. and I got to actually be a dad. You know, I got home to be a dad, be an example, be able to hug my kids, play with my kids.
And how much would you pay for that?
Oh man, that's priceless.
Exactly.
That is priceless.
At the end of your life, you're going to be.
Yeah.
You might not have a Ferrari. You might have a Lamborghini. You might have all these material possessions.
Drive a 21-year-old truck. So.
Exactly. Mine's 23 years old. You know what I mean?
I don't care though. My girls were taken care of.
Paid for. I would give up the world to make sure at the end of my life that I don't regret. I don't think people regret not having material possessions at the end of their life. I think they will regret the moments that they missed.
Yep.
And I think
exactly true.
And I won't know until I get there whether you or I or both of us are right. But damn, it feels like that might be the way to go.
I'll tell you, and honestly, the most we have learned is in our poorest financial moments. Like, we learned how to cook because of how poor we got. I mean, legitimately, we went from being able to go out to eat anytime we wanted to now we have to cook every single night because we can't afford to take a family of 5 out to eat on a single salary. And And I'll tell you what, Melissa turned out to be a phenomenal cook. And then Cadence followed right in her footsteps of just coming up with recipes. Cadence knows more about food than most professional chefs. And she can work magic and come up with a recipe that's one of the best things you've ever had in your life. And so, but that came from our poorest times. Some of our best memories came when we didn't have a dime to our name. And it's like, what do we have in the cabinets?
We gotta get creative.
Yeah, and it's like, all right, so I've got some backstrap in the freezer. We've got some cans of peas. We got a few cans of corn. We've got some cornmeal. We got and all of a sudden we come up with some kind of creation that turns out to be one of our biggest favorites, and that I would pay $20 a plate in a restaurant for.
Right.
And it all came because,
and you're getting the beauty of your home at that point too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I wouldn't change that for the world, and I think that's probably one of the best investments we've ever had, was to pour into our family, into our kids, and make them the priority. And we didn't have all the nice stuff. We were showing up to to events in old vehicles, but I don't care about that. What I care about is my girls are taken care of. And my girls are smart. My girls are godly women, and they are they're bold in their faith. They're bold in living right for the Lord. And I'll tell you what, there's nothing finer than that. But you were talking about possessions, things about nature, and taking care of my kids. Taking care of my kids is, even now, we're empty nesters now, and but we still drop $400 or $500 a week in the grocery store just so that we can stock up on all the things the kids want. And then they come by the house and they raid our cabinets. It's one of the happiest things that happens to me. It's like when they leave with bags of special food, stuff that they wouldn't buy themselves because they're on budgets. But I got like the chips that they like to have, or I got the ice creams that they like. I got, the snacks and stuff that they wouldn't normally buy themselves. And I intentionally buy those things to, hopefully they'll come by and steal it out of the cabinet. Yeah. So, that's one of the best things in the world. And I trade everything for that.
So the trade-off is, your wife continues to work during those times. The kids, don't get as much time. They don't get as much of that, the feeling of love, and they don't get that learning. They don't get that. They're half your kids and half the government's at that point. You know what I mean? Right. And then next thing you know, they maybe they get nicer material possessions, but at what cost?
At their soul.
At what cost?
Yeah.
There's no one of the things I believe I read it or I heard it on a podcast. Couldn't tell you, but there was one thing that stuck with me. It said, "There's no such thing as a good decision. There's just trade-offs." And you have to decide what trade-offs you want to have.
Yeah.
Your trade-off was, I don't need the nicest things. I don't need the most money. If I have to work 10 years more, it is worth it.
Oh yeah.
If it means that I get to have this thing at the end of my life.
Hands down, our family is 1,000% closer than it would have been if we'd have continued on that path. And the path we were on was a good path. I mean, they were in a private Christian academy, one of the finest. And it was difficult to pay. I mean, it was expensive, but it was the most affordable version of a Christian academy that you could have. And they were doing a good job, but at the same time, there's still a trade-off because they're surrounded by kids whose parents don't have the same values as us. We would like to think everybody in a Christian academy had great parents. Man, some of those parents are drug addicts and whatever else. I mean, I don't want to talk bad about people, but a lot happens in any type of school, no matter how much you pay for it. And do I want my children surrounded by that environment, to be their point of influence, and then me being too tired at the end of the day to redirect it and point out how what they experienced at school was wrong and it shouldn't happen?
Well, another thing I keep thinking about too is, like, about how a normal day looks like in a public school system is like your kid is gone for 9 hours a day.
Yep.
And you're gone from them for 9 hours a day. You maybe in the morning, you can't teach a kid anything in the morning. It's too chaotic. You're just getting ready and get out the door. So let's say you have the evening time.
Yeah.
You maybe have 3 to 4 hours with them. If you throw in if they have any outside out of school activities,
sports,
or you have to make dinner, or they have homework, which the homework's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, you barely have any time with your kids, and then you have the weekends with them, and then it's just like at what cost? And it's like. I don't know. I'd rather work 3 jobs to make sure that when I'm home, I can be home and focused on my kids than to be like I view material possessions as tools.
Yep. Yeah.
Like you could take every material possession I have, as long as you don't take my left arm or like my arms or my ability to create an income, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
I'll live out of a cardboard box. I'll live out of my car. I don't give a rat's ass. That's why I think what makes me so good with the podcast is like, this is something I want to do. This is something I don't have to do.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I get joy out of. But like, I would do this if it was just me and you recording it on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it started off with just a computer, like my dining room table, similar to this. Like, it's just, you can't take those things and like material possessions. I would give up all my material possessions because the truck I have, which I get extreme joy out of, don't get me wrong, but like there's other trucks, there's other things, like every material possession to me is a tool. Unless it's sentimental, it's just a tool, and I can get something else to replace it. And so it doesn't bother me. But things I can't get back is the relationships and the bonds and the things that I spend my time creating.
Yeah.
And that's the things that I'm very focused on.
Yeah. And you're right. Like the relationships we've got with our girls, and they're always at the house, and even now, like they come by, like, hey, can we come over for dinner tonight? And I mean, that's 2-3 times a week we get that call from the kids. I'm like, yeah, come on.
And they all live relatively close too.
Yeah, and Melissa, people ask, like, is Melissa going to go back to work now that all the girls are out of the house? And I'm like, no. And Melissa's like, you sure you don't want me to go back to work? I'm like, no, I want you to be available for the kids. We got a grandbaby now, you know. They need to know that if things go sideways in their lives, there are people ready and available to help them out, and that's us, and we're that safety net. And there may be days we go without anything to do but hang out with each other, but we enjoy that. You know, my off days from the fire station, we have these gym dates. Like, we come home, we sit on the couch and drink some coffee, and then it's like, all right, you ready to go? And then we just get dressed, we go to the gym, and we're there for 2 hours, and then we leave there and we go get some sushi from, we got a Super Kroger that's got, an Oriental section where they're making sushi, and it's amazing. It's actually really good. Yeah. And we're coming back to the house, and we just have a whole day. It's just a date between her and I, stuff that we haven't been able to do for 20 years because we had kids in the house. But and I love it. But then, like, a lot of times, it's like, hey, can y'all help? Like today, you saw, Kirsten and Austin were like, hey, can y'all watch Daisy while we have our Bible study? Yeah. So Melissa's at home with Daisy and enjoying our grandbaby, and wouldn't trade that life for nothing.
You'd sell all the vehicles,
everything,
every material possession
all the
you
guns,
could get rid
all
of.
9 yards, they'd be gone.
I don't know. At the end, I just can't see a way at the end of my life where I would regret that. You know what I mean? And I think you would probably say the same thing. It's like I'd rather have less material possessions, less financial, possessions and stuff like that, and just have that life fulfillment. Because I mean, at the end of the day, that's really what it amounts to.
I've had the same $5 holding my savings account open for 15 years. There hadn't been more than $5 in that savings account in 15 years. But at the same time, I haven't missed an event with my kids. Yep. Melissa, somebody has been there. There has never been a time where our kids needed us and we weren't able to just have at least one of us right there. Yeah. And I wouldn't trade that for the world. I wouldn't trade that for all the money in the world in that savings account.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I really think it's an inspiration to a lot of people that need to hear that, because, we live in a society that what people view as success is money, and success is having a lot of material possessions, and I don't view it that way. Yeah. Maybe when I was a kid and naive, I used to, but like now people who have old trucks that don't have to have old trucks, and they have them because like I get so much joy out of my old junky truck with rust on it, and that sometimes rough idles. I just get so much joy out of it because it does its job way cheaper than a brand new truck does.
Yeah. So when the girls finally got in the house, Melissa and I are like, yeah, let's go take a look at cars. And it's been so long since we looked at a new car. Like last time we bought a new car,
You didn't know how to act at the dealership.
yeah. So last time we bought a brand new car was like, it was 20 something years ago, and it was a brand new top of the line Jeep Wrangler, and I got her a Jeep Cherokee, and our highest payment was $400 a month, and that was for 5 years. And I didn't want to have a 5-year loan, but that was the only way I could get 0% interest. And so I was like, all right, I'll do the 5-year loan. So we went. And we're looking at the cars, and we finally glanced at the sticker price, and it's like, oh dear God! Yeah, it's not $22,000 for a fully loaded vehicle anymore. It's like $68,000 to $70-something thousand for that same Jeep that I got in 2001, the same version of it with just the updated features.
Inflation.
It was I think it was $74,000, and it didn't have much on it. Like. And I choked, and I asked the guy. I said how? I said, what's the what's the payments on this like on a 4 or 5 year plan? He says nobody does 4 or 5 year plans. I said, do what?
7 to 9 now.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said. And even then, it was like $700 a month. And I was like,
the average new car payment right now is almost $800 a month. $800 a month.
And that's wild to me because
that's a house payment.
My house payment. You see, my house is nothing big. It's 1,600 square feet. But
well, to my generation, that's a giant house.
It is.
Have you seen what my generation's buying?
Yeah.
My generation is like at the RV shows looking at campers right now because it's the only thing we can afford.
My house is 1,600 square feet, and I pay $11.35 a month for my house, and that's with all the land and everything else with it. And I can't imagine paying for a car and it being within a couple $100 of my house payment. That's just ridiculous to me.
Your brother-in-law, one of your brother-in-laws, he was telling me a story about when he got his new SUV. I'm not going to call him out by name, but you know who I'm talking about. And he was like, he told me how much he paid for his house, and then when he sat down to negotiate price, and they were telling him that he should, or like what it cost. He's like, I'm not paying more for this car than I paid for my house.
You're right. Yep, yeah. I won't call Trey out either, but
I'm leaving that one in because you said it, not me. But I've already bleeped one name for you. You're done. I'm just kidding. But it's crazy because inflation has been insane. You know what's crazy to me about inflation? To get off on a government rant, is that there's an acceptable amount. Shouldn't the acceptable amount be 0? They're trying. The government's really trying to get it to be 2%. I'm like, so you mean you want people to get perpetually poorer every year?
Yep.
That's insane to me.
It doesn't make any sense at all. Did you see Tucker Carlson buy groceries in Russia?
Yeah, I did. I saw him go to McDonald's in Russia too.
That hurt my feelings. Hurt my feelings. How many Big Mac meals were they able to get with a $20 bill?
Well, he got 2 cheeseburgers, French fries, and chocolate cake for what would be $7.
And how much did he get for that? How much did he pay for it?
So, well, it was rubles, but it would have been $7.
Yeah,
$7 at McDonald's gets you the dollar menu. That's it.
Yeah. So yeah, and it drove me nuts when I found out.
And this is a country that's supposed to have all these sanctions on it right now because of the Ukraine-Russia war.
Oh yeah.
We're destroying them.
Oh yeah. And
where's all our money go? So because Russia is at war with Ukraine, they have a better cost standard of living for their people than
what costs me
here.
$400 a week in groceries, they're buying for $100 a week.
Yep.
That is insane to me.
Yeah,
so that tells me everything.
I just made it. I actually just had a clip of the podcast that went on YouTube within a day or two of today, and it was like, I was like, you want to know the best way I've found to describe the current state of the economy is that I just bought $100 worth of groceries for $280. That's about the state of the economy right now. Is it's like. You get and you're like, if you just look at a basket right before you check out, you're like, this is about $100 worth, and then you go through and you're like, why was that $300?
Oh yeah. So in the past, I could fill my grocery cart above the rim to the point where they'd be like, do you want to get a second cart? I'm like, no, that whole cart would be $180, $200. I cannot even fill a cart up. Like just this week, I spent. It was a full cart. It was a full cart. But it was $452. And that's at Food Depot. That's like the ghettoest grocery store. It's like cost plus 10%. And I love Food Depot. That's where I've been shopping for 15 years. It's cheaper than Walmart. It's cheaper than Ingles. Cheaper than Kroger. All of these stores. But one grocery cart, $400-something.
It's insane.
And I don't have like high end. I got like Essentials brand, like the store brand products in there.
It's killed me that the current political climate that we're in is basically where it's like we're worried about how we like all this virtue signaling that we do is insane. Where it's like, oh, you know, we want to make it look like, oh, we support Ukraine, and like, there's that famous clip of Trump when he's getting interviewed, and they're like, so who do you want to win this Ukraine-Russia war? And he's, I don't care. I want people to stop dying. Yeah. And that was a controversial thought. You don't want Ukraine to win? It's like, no, I just want people to stop dying.
Yeah, and it's like, why is that a difficult thought?
It's not.
Yeah.
But we live in this gotcha media where they want these clips to circulate.
Yeah.
And I'm like that's 100%. Like, that's what it is.
I'm so tired of our soldiers dying for somebody else's wallet.
And we're sending,
and I'm tired of our wallet getting destroyed.
Billions of dollars.
Oh yeah, like, who's going to send us money when somebody attacks us?
Not even that.
Nobody.
Like, in the same time that we were sending billions of dollars,
we have become the world police.
When we send billions of dollars to Ukraine, and that nasty wildfire hit Hawaii, and we did nothing for them. That's like 1/10 the money would have saved all of those people.
So
or saved, built their houses back and restored that.
The money we have sent to Ukraine could have housed every homeless veteran in the United States.
It's insane.
Yeah, we could have built houses for every single. Yeah,
or the same cities that have been plagued with like all of these like homelessness and crime and all of these issues of like single parenthood and things that just perpetuate this terrible, like if you just funneled money into those cities, like the like south side of Chicago, Detroit, those areas, and you just like funneled money into those things, like you would make a huge impact.
Yeah.
What the thing that I always go back to is like, we're so virtuous in the United States because we don't have slavery. But we just outsource our slavery to other countries now. Yeah. That is one that bothers the piss out of me because we're so virtuous because we don't have slaves.
Yeah. But outsourcing slavery, and that drives me nuts. Oh, that makes me so mad.
When we change our minimum wage, that pisses me off to no end because I'm like, now you just created less jobs for people. When you increased our minimum wage, because we're going to have less minimum wage workers now, and we're going to send it to Mexico. We're going to send it to Africa. We're going to send it to China. We're going to send it to all these countries.
You walk into McDonald's now. You don't even have somebody up there taking money. You have to do a kiosk. So we just removed a worker. You go into any grocery store now.
Self-checkout.
Walmart doesn't even have people up there. They've just got this whole like mass herding thing. It's like, how many jobs are we losing because we keep upping these costs? But you're talking about outsourcing slavery. It frustrates me to death to look at like tags and labels and finding out there are children working in these places in China and all these other countries. And I'm like, you guys sit there and virtue signal, but you're purchasing this garbage and you're allowing this to happen instead of forcing these countries to pay livable wages and set legal standards on and not enslave people.
Our government shouldn't make it cheaper for businesses to outsource slavery.
Yeah.
It should be more expensive for them to hire slave labor.
Yeah.
Therefore, their incentive to... Well, do you know who Charlie Munger is? I mentioned this on my last podcast with Uncle Keith. So Charlie Munger was the guy who... do you know who Warren Buffett is?
Yeah.
It's Warren Buffett's business partner in Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah.
Charlie Munger passed away recently. One of the things he said, show me the incentive and I'll show you where the money is. Or, basically, like, people respond to incentives. And when you give these businesses incentives that they can use to make a ton of money, like the pharmaceutical industry. So shocking to say that, right? But it's like they have all these incentives to be. They control the media. They can. I mean, we all saw it during COVID.
Yeah.
It's just. You can be a right wing nut or you can be a left wing nut. It doesn't matter. I'm just the person who's in the center saying everything's fucking crazy. And a lot of this stuff is just bananas. Excuse my French, but it's just all bananas at this point. And
so you say, excuse my French, when you say bananas?
No, with the bananas, well, it was for the F-bomb that I dropped. I went to public school for 12 years. What do you want from me?
I did too.
That word is just like, it's like putting salt on your chicken. You know what I mean? It's just seasoning.
Yes.
And I wish I didn't. I'm trying to be better about it, but alcohol helps. But it's just a shame how the businesses are ran in this country and how like monopolies exist. And I don't know, from my perspective, this is why I focus so much on my household, because if I focus on what's happening outside of my household, it just drives me down a dark, deep pit of despair and madness about what's happening.
So and that's something with our household, we try and focus on helping others to see how we've been blessed. We got blessed with, the kids bringing other kids in, and these kids are young. I call them all kids. If they're under 25, 30 years old, they're kids to me. So they're bringing these young adults to the house. We got a Monday night dinner that we do after they get done playing Frisbee with their whole life group from church. And all these kids are watching Melissa and I, have watched the girls being raised under me being the worker and Melissa being the stay-at-home. And so many of them are making these decisions. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. And it's like, thank you, God, for giving us the opportunity to influence them into a better plan that you've got laid out in your word, And so I try not to worry about what the world's doing, but it is neat to be able to work on this small group around us, and hopefully that will pyramid effect into multiple others and changing, I guess, our culture. It'll take many years at our rate, but getting it to where it's not crazy to have kids that are homeschooled.
Have you seen the homeschool rates recently?
Yeah,
have you looked at some statistics?
They are growing so much.
So quickly.
Yeah.
I know that just in my friend group of people who have had kids or are planning to have kids, how many have talked about homeschooling?
Yeah.
It is bananas.
One of my favorite things is like, what do y'all do about socialization with your kids? It's like, well, you know what? At least my kid's not trying to identify as a cat. So,
So to speak on that, when I mentioned to Grammy that I talked about when we do have kids, how we wanted to homeschool them, and she goes, you don't want your kid to be the weird kid. And I'm like, the weird kids are the ones who are going to public school now, and they're meowing at their friends. I think my kid will be normal.
They got pronouns in their names. And it's so
bananas. The world's gone bananas.
Oh,
dude.
it has.
It's just gotten
so
crazy.
It's like, and I listen to some of this stuff, and it's like, you identify as this, and we are being forced to accept it. How about I identify as the boss? I'm in charge now, and you're going to have to entertain that because I self-declared myself as the boss of the city or whatever else.
I'm all for being considerate of others. I'm all for being considerate of others.
But I'm not going to be forced to play your game.
But it should be handled at an individual level. If you all of a sudden, if we came up one time and we come to visit you guys and you've got long braided hair and a wig on and fake tits and you decided
that's like the worst image ever.
Hold up, and makeup and eyeliner and all this stuff, and you just decided your name is Jessica now. Mm-hmm. Okay, Jessica, and you're still the same person, but you just decided that your whole life has been a lie. I would respect the shit out of you because I've always respected the shit out of you. You know what I mean? Like I'd be like, you know what? Who am I to judge? There's things that I eat sometimes. I like olives. Not everybody likes olives. You know what I mean? Who am I to judge? You know what I mean? Like, dude, that's what I love about this country.
Jessica and olives are two completely separate things.
But have you ever heard the phrase, who am I to yuck your yum? You know what I mean?
No.
Why am I going to say, well, if that's what you like, that's what you like. Like, not everybody likes these things.
Well, yeah, we're
we would handle that
on, like, you have to accept it.
But we would do this on an individual level. Now, if an organization came along and said, you have to address John as Jessica now, I'd be like, how about you let me and Jessica John handle that?
Yeah. Yeah, and it does. It's frustrating. And I had a discussion with somebody not too long ago about values and things, and I said, I want our government to stop telling us what we are going to have to be forced to accept.
When is the government going to do what the government's supposed to do?
Yeah. How about
they stay in their lane?
My daughters, go to the bathroom and not have to worry about being ordered to have a bathroom with a guy who's an actual man that may call himself something different. So it's not okay. You want to see me? You want to see the dad side of me come out? Mm-hmm. Let me find out that's happened. Mm-hmm. And they're going to put me in prison, and somebody's going to go to the hospital.
It happened to me the other night on our way here.
Really?
Daniel, my wife texted me and said, I'm pretty sure there's a man in our bathroom.
Oh my
and
God.
Nothing has made my blood pressure go that high where I literally debated going in the women's restroom. And I'm like standing around like waiting, like, where the fuck is this person? Because now there are some women that do not look like women, and that's okay too. Yeah. Whatever. I'm not going to yuck your yum, but in the same instance too, like, I'll be on the news tonight if I need to be.
Oh yeah, and you'll have the support of 99% of America. It's that 1% that are screaming sideways that we're catering to. Like, why are we catering to?
But when I make these decisions, I'm worried about one or two people. Yeah. I'm worried about her and I'm worried about me. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, and and that's one of the things that matters to me, because I don't want my kids to grow up, my grandchildren to grow up in a society where they have to be scared. You know, when like, is this person going to do? Because I mean, it's these people who are acting as if they're trans or whatever else. They're turning around raping women, raping children in bathrooms.
And not all of them. Not all of them.
No.
But you're giving an excuse to the crazy people.
Yeah,
you're giving them a.
Hey, I'm going to play this so I can get in the women's locker room.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
And that's what's happening.
Yeah. There was an example in Canada where this 58-year-old dude, or in his 50s or something like that, identified as a 15-year-old girl so he could like compete in teenage sports and then also get changed in a teenage locker room.
Yeah.
That's bananas.
Yeah, and the thing is like the girls are told
I would
to
commit
accept it.
homicide.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
The whole team of girls are being told they need to be re-educated and they need this, and they're going to be punished because they're not in the locker room with a dude. It's not okay. It's not okay.
Not okay.
No.
It's insane times. It's just what gets me about all of it too is there's this level of like censorship because people are worried about like upsetting other people. I'm like, I'm just a person with my own opinions.
Yeah.
Take them for what you will. Agree with them, don't agree with them. I don't give a shit. But I am unapologetically myself.
Yeah.
And it just is what it is. But like, I'm also up for conversations about these things. And I think that talking about things is how we all get to a common ground. And I think that when you remove talking about things, we're just one step closer to fucking Hitler Germany. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These things need to be discussed.
Oh yeah. And yeah, things really need to be addressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our country's on a slippery slope.
Well,
it's crazy.
And growing up, I always kind of viewed the feminist group as, women trying to get equal rights, things of that nature. But now they're being shut up and they're being told to be quiet so that we can allow men to take over their sports. And it's like, what how are we flipping this script? Now the women who are fighting for rights are now the evil ones? Like, how insane is that? Like, I want them to be able to compete without some dude. We're built different. We're built we can swim faster in most instances.
I mean, just
do all these things.
Testosterone is to deny genetics, to deny biology is just bonkers.
It is.
We're talking about in fairy tale make believe world now. This isn't real anymore.
Guys getting into women's wrestling, and it's like, yeah, he's a 250-pound dude. Yes, he's gonna slam the 150-pound woman. And it's like, it's like we've got to put a stop to it. And,
yep.
Yeah.
The problem here's what I think is the majority the minority of people who are very loud are the ones who are controlling the direction of the country until the silent majority take control.
Where are we? Like, why can't we get ourselves out speaking?
Because they're so scared to get attacked by the loud minority. And that's why I feel like it's so important for people like us to have this conversation and to talk about these things, because there's so many people that agree. You know why I think Joe Rogan's podcast is so huge? I think Joe Rogan is a voice and a representative of the silent majority.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say so too. And he's bold and able to. He says things, and a lot of people have a lot to lose, and that's where I guess a lot of us get quiet because we're like, oh, if I say that, I may lose my job. If I may blah blah blah, and it's the only way I can take care of my family. Which I bit my tongue many a times in the direction of trying to save my job, making sure that I didn't jeopardize that. That it does get difficult, but.
But at a certain point, you have to draw a line in the sand and say, you cross this line, and it's insane. As far as the government goes, there was this video that I saw on Instagram that you've probably seen this video because it got shared hundreds of thousands of times. There was this video of this dude who's like walking up to a microphone and he goes, I'm going to ask you guys a crazy question. I want to make sure everybody's ready real quick. He like sits back for a second. He goes, no, it's really crazy. And he goes, I'm going to butcher this. I know I'm going to butcher it, but he's like, when do we use the guns?
Yes.
You've seen the video?
Yes, I've seen that video.
When do we use the guns? And he's like, and everyone laughs. He's like, no, I'm serious. Like, at what point do we draw the line and we start to kill these people? And like,
Yes.
5 years ago, that video would have been insane.
Yeah.
But now, the amount of people, the hundreds of thousands of people that have reshared that guy saying that
Yeah.
speaks for itself. The silent majority has had it up to here. They're dumb.
But have we been accepting to where we just sit here and cower and continue to allow this to get worse and worse and worse? Like I 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I would have never thought we'd have been in the state that we're in now. I would have figured that we the silent majority would have this and like they, and of course it's like, oh, the silent majority uses their vote to make their voice heard, and I'm like, yeah, I can't even trust that now. So I don't know. Like I know that we're there, and
that's one thing I'm certain of. I don't know.
I don't know. Because I mean, there's a lot going sideways that's got to come to an end. Because like, are we going to protect girls? Are we going to protect ideologies? Are we gonna, all kinds of things. But at what point are we going to stand up and do something?
Yeah, the Ben Shapiro quote: "Facts don't care about your feelings."
Yeah,
and I feel like that's really got to shine through. Unfortunately, I think that we live in a crazy time. I do think that it will correct itself, though.
I hope so.
I think because we live in a democracy, ideally, where people will control the direction of the country. We'll find out. Worst come to worst.
We'll find out in November, I guess.
Worst come to worst, this is what the Second Amendment's been around for. We just all pick up arms, you know what I mean? I mean, obviously I'm not calling for that.
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
But we have that always metaphorically and physically in our back pocket.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just, that's an option.
I do wonder, like, our government obviously, I would say in a big way has stepped over their constitutional boundaries. And how do we as a society and as, in a safe manner get our government back in line? Like, I don't really want to go to war with our government, but
I think we do it this way. I think we talk about it.
And
I
just
think
get
that's
it out there.
I think so. Enough people not being scared to practice their First Amendment makes it to where we don't have to use the Second. And
I hope you're right. I sure would love to see. I'd love to see more of this honest conversation happening. Of, the government's supposed to be small. The government's supposed to not control my life, and the government. I'm supposed to know everything about the government, and they're not supposed to know anything about me.
It's supposed to be of the people for the people.
It is not. It is flipped. The government knows everything about me. Everything about me. That little phone right there, and then every time I use my Ingalls card, they know every item I buy, the days that I shop at the stores. They know everything my credit cards are doing. They can, with the Patriot Act, they track everything on our phones. Everything. There's no
privacy.
No privacy. No warrants needed. But I have no idea what they're doing in the background. I got no idea what they're setting up for. And they keep it quiet and away from us, and then all of a sudden it drops, and then we have to deal with it, or we're going to get arrested.
Well, two things I wanted to mention. The first thing is, like, you ever heard Jordan Peterson talk about, like, if you were born in Nazi Germany, or like, let's say, the Holocaust was like 1939 to 1945. If you were born in 1925, you would have been a Nazi. It just is what it is. If you grew up in that time, that's what you would have been. He talks about how a Nazi is created is just like, They encroach upon your rights just enough to where you're like uncomfortable, and then they stop. And they wait until you are comfortable, and then they do it again. And they keep doing it over and over again, and where you're so far away from what you would have accepted. But it happened little increments at a time. And I think that's what's happening.
That's what I feel like we're at right now.
That process is begun to happen. What was the other thing I was going to mention? I forgot the second point I was going to make. But, long story short, I feel like us having these conversations and practicing our First Amendment and being free to practice that First Amendment is going to be what leads to the Second. Not needing to be used. So, it's crazy how many people are like questioning how much of it is. Now, the more I focus on my own household, the less I'm concerned with what's happening. But the social media algorithms and all these things have just pushed people to believe all these. It's insane times. But I'm optimistic, though. But I'm an optimistic person, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, I am. I'm definitely hoping, like, our next election, I'd love to see it all shaken up. I'd love to see all these incumbents get gone. both right, left. And
I think it's time for an independent. Let's go, Bobby Kennedy.
I'm thinking about that. I love what he sends me. I'm on his email list, and he sends some great stuff, and he sends the things that I want to hear, and I'm hoping he is that guy.
He's just open-minded. That's all I want to hear. Is somebody who's willing to sit down and have a discussion.
Yeah.
And as a parent, the difficult discussions are often the ones where the most ground is made.
You're right.
And if you're not willing to have those difficult discussions, if you're scared to have those discussions,
trampled on.
or you surround yourself in people who only tell you what you want to hear, you don't need a bunch of yes men.
Yep.
You need people around you who are going to talk to you from a human level.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things I like in leadership. I like to surround myself with people with different backgrounds, different ideologies, so I can see things through their eyes and let them have their discussion, so that I can learn from where they came from and how somebody would have made a decision like they did. So I'm not like as an officer in my department, I'm not inappropriately hammering down on somebody because I don't understand
their side of it.
Yeah, their side of it. And so I think it's key to surround yourself with people that are different than you.
So now that we're on this discussion, one of the questions I've been wanting to ask you was, if you had to move to another country, if America got too far gone, I'm gonna mention my two, and then you tell me yours.
Okay.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I know. My air is incredibly dry in here.
Yeah.
I'm dying.
Is it just me? Okay. Two.
Okay.
I'm thinking Mexico.
Okay.
Because obvious reasons why. My wife is Mexican.
Okay.
When you own property there,
Yeah.
you actually own it.
Okay.
Her mom owns property in Mexico and has for forever and pays nothing to have it. Because once you own it, you own it.
Okay.
Which is that. Tell me something that sounds more American than that, but like that's not American at all.
Okay.
So that part of it, and the food is bussin'. But
Is
that's
it?
the point. Have you had Mexican food, bro?
Oh, I've had Mexican, plenty of Mexican, but
that?
I've had It's all
Actual
depends.
Mexican?
I like coastal Mexican. It's my favorite.
Oh, no,
I
I
like
like-
ceviche and things of that nature.
No, I like. I'm talking like middle of the wood, middle of the whatever. I like Mexican food.
Yeah.
I'm for it.
I noticed a lot of the countries I travel to, they're not as spicy on their food as I like. I like salt and I like spice.
So Mexico's number one. Number two is Switzerland. Because
Okay.
what's a better country to never have to worry about a military industrial complex?
You're right. Switzerland's pretty awesome. I'd go there.
It is very expensive to live there. Is the only issue.
I have not thought of Switzerland, but Switzerland may be on that list. So
I just know I'd never have to go to war.
yes, I think I've been a lot of places, but most of the countries I've traveled to are all third world and occasional second world. But I sure did like Belize. Belize was a really, really nice country. I don't really know what number two would be though. I don't have a number two, but
Canada.
No. I'm not. I'm definitely not for Trudeau. Yeah, couldn't do that guy.
Oh no, it's terrible.
Yeah, I really don't know. I don't know what number two would be. I've got a state that I'd love to live in, but I can't get Melissa talked into it.
What state?
Oklahoma.
Why?
Oh my gosh, I don't know what it is. Every time I go through Oklahoma, like I don't know if I was built for it. I know I've got a way deep descendant Creek Indian family member that's from Oklahoma, and I don't know. Every time I go into Oklahoma, like the weather's perfect, the humidity's perfect. It doesn't matter if it's middle of summer, middle of winter.
That's such a weird
I am
state.
physically comfortable in Oklahoma. It's so weird. I don't know why, but it's like I get there and I'm like, I'm meant to be here.
One of my best friends is from the. You know how Oklahoma is shaped
Yeah.
like it's got like a dash on the side. He's from the dash.
Yeah.
My throat is falling
I
apart.
know, mine too.
There ain't nothing out there. I'm not concerned we're going any there.
I love to see a storm coming like 2 hours away, as flat as it is, being able to watch that coming and know, all right, we got about an hour and a half of ball left before we have to, quit playing, play
get in the
baseball
basement,
or
yeah.
get in the basement or whatever. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I liked Arizona was cool.
Mm.
You didn't like it?
Everything's got stingers on it. Like you can't walk barefoot in Arizona. Like
That's fair. Well, we stayed in Flagstaff, which is like like
I'm familiar with Flagstaff.
kind of
yeah.
like a combination of
Yeah.
Utah and Arizona. Jeezy
Yeah.
Pete, I'm falling apart.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need to get some water, but John.
I'm gonna have to go in a little bit.
Yeah, I would say you need.
Melissa's
you need to roll
texting me
out.
like
It's almost
all
10
the kids
o'clock.
have left the house. I'm sitting here by myself. Okay. Yeah.
Well, it's been great having you on again. Now that we have video and everything, and appreciate you doing this. Now,
Yes,
like
sir.
I told you earlier, we can do a virtual one too.
Okay.
I think this is something we should do like quarterly or
Yes, we
something.
should.
But it's more
I like
often. Let you just talk shit so you can get it all out. So
right.
it was great having you on. Thanks for
sir.
doing this. Hopefully you don't get fired. I'll bleep the names out you need me to bleep out. So I'll
right.
talk to you guys later.
See
Thank you guys
buddy.
for coming on.
All right.
This episode of Somehow We're Adults is over, but if you'd like to support the podcast, you can subscribe to one of the levels of the Patreon, where we will release bonus episodes that can't be found anywhere else. Any of the money that we get from the Patreon would be used to upgrade old equipment, as well as get new gear so that we can make the best podcast for you to tune into. You can also follow the podcast Instagram at Somehow We're Adults, where I share clips and content about the podcast, and the link in the bio will take you to any of the Somehow We're Adults pages. I encourage you to check out another one of the episodes if this is your first time listening, and if you're a repeat listener, thank you for your support. I love making the podcast, and I hope you tune in for future episodes of Somehow We're Adults.